comes back to bite you.
2024, the 7th year of the Gran Turismo World Series, kicked off right here in Canada. The best sim races in the world landed in Montreal for what was always going to be a hotly contested season of racing.
Trying to take advantage, trying to get his move done on the inside of Roach. Oh, this is getting very scrappy indeed. Serrano's going to be wide to that, goes for the defensive line, tries to park it on the outside. Miyazono goes for the outside line. Side by side they go, down into the chicane, and Miyazono leads!
And then we came to the Czech Republic, where round 2 had a few more surprises up its sleeve.
We have 8 cars right now squabbling for the lead. This ain't going to end well.
This is fantastic, isn't it? Into the final corner. Here comes Drumont back through on the inside of Coque Lopez. Sliding his way through. And Contentus Lopez gets spun round. Gallo wins the Nations Cup Grand Final here in Prague.
Round 3 in Tokyo did not disappoint, as the battle for the World Championship got more and more intense. Every single point was critical.
Oh, bang! Straight into the back. Kylian Drumont takes his first victory of the season in the Gran Turismo World Series. The Frenchman is on top in Tokyo.
But that is Coque Lopez, the leader going into Tokyo, failed to score.
That means that Kylian Drumont leads by 1 point ahead of Jose Serrano, Takuma Miyazono and Valerio Gallo going into the World Final.
That's crazy, that top 4, all separated by 1 point.
But with double points up for grabs, all 12 drivers still have a shot at victory. So then it all comes down to this. Let's introduce you to our 12 drivers making their way onto the stage. First up, please give it your all from Brazil, Adriano Carrazza. 35 years old, first in the Central South America region, and he's a GT World Series veteran. Next up from Chile, it's Angel Inestrosa. Angel, the 28-year-old, proudly displaying the Chilean flag as he walks onto the stage, the 5 times GT World Series winner. Next up, from the United States of America, please give it your all for Callum Roach. 19 years old is Callum, first in the North America region this year. Let's see whether he can convert it to a strong result tonight. Next up, from Australia, 28-year-old Guy Barbara. Guy qualified first in the Oceania region in 2024, and he'll be hoping to put a strong result together tonight, maybe even a podium. Next up, our second American, Robbie Heck from the United States of America. 25 years old is Robbie. He's adapted his driving style to be a little bit more technical over the course of 2024, apparently. Next up, from Japan, give it your all for Takuma Sasaki. 20 years old is Takuma, second in the Asia region in the online qualifiers, known as Takawan. See what Sasaki is able to do this year. And next up, the hometown hero, Kai de Bruyne. "19 years old is Kai, almost won the World Series second round in Prague earlier this year. Next up, Coque Lopez from Spain. 25 years old is Coque, part of the team that won the Nations Cup World Championship in 2023. Team Spain, of course. And next up, another former Nations Cup champion. Give it your all for Italy's Valerio Gallo. 24 years old is Valerio, won the Nations Cup title back in 2021. Another former champion as well. Japan's Takuma Miyazono makes his way onto the stage. The 24-year-old won the opening round of the season. He finished on the podium in round 3 in Tokyo as well. Can he put a strong result together here tonight? Next up, it's Spain's Jose Serrano. Jose, 22 years old, also part of the Spanish team that won the Nations Cup Championship in 2023. And last but not least, give it your all for France's Kylian Drumont. 21 years old is Kylian, 2022 Nations Cup, Manufacturers Cup champion, I should say, rather, and the current points leader as well. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please stand if you're able for the national anthem of our host nation here in the Netherlands. The national anthem of the Netherlands plays out here in Amsterdam, the host city and indeed nation of the World Finals for the Gran Turismo World Series. Very much looking forward to action beginning here in the Nations Cup tonight as we get ready to crown our world champions. But if you have missed it so far in 2024, let's remind you of the competition format that's taken place over the course of this year.
The Nations Cup brings together 12 of the fastest drivers from the 2024 online qualifiers. They've raced against each other in rounds 1 to 3 before arriving at the World Finals. All 12 drivers will fight for points across 3 races. The top 10 drivers in each race will score points. The results from race 1 determine the grid order of race 2. Race 2 results determine the grid order for the Grand Final, where all top 10 drivers will earn double points. These points are then added to the results for the last 3 World Series rounds to decide the final standing. And then the top driver will be crowned the Nations Cup World Champion.
So that is the competition format that we've had over 2024. Let's have another look at the points standings coming into the final weekend of the season in the Nations Cup, because it is mightily close at the top. Kylian Drumont 11 points, but he is just 1 point ahead of 3 drivers. Valerio Gallo, Takuma Miyazono and Jose Serrano all tied on points there for second, JB.
Yeah, that is kind of ridiculous, isn't it, if you think about it? I mean, we have such a vast array of talent here as part of our Nations Cup final. Literally, any driver here can win this. Of course, double points on offer throughout the entirety of this series tonight, meaning that major shake-up is on the cards if we see maybe one of the top riders have a bad race.
Yeah, absolutely. It is going to be crucial to get every point. We know that we've been saying that and banging that drum over the course of this year, but now really does come down to it, especially with the fact that you've got points on offer for the races, double points or quadruple points effectively, really, compared to what we've had over the course of this year for the last race as well. Let's have a look, though, at the details for this first one then. So the Trial Mountain Circuit, an old favourite in Gran Turismo, isn't it? 10 laps in production cars. We saw briefly the car selections that the drivers took earlier on. That's going to be interesting because you'd think, oh, they don't look that hard to handle. Yeah, but we've waxed a bit of more power in them. They've got 1,000 horsepower now as well.
The average of 1,000 horsepower of the cars, which is basically what we saw sort of back in Tokyo with that amazing street race back there, but just basically emulating that here today. 10-lap race with no fuel consumption, no tyre wear rate, nothing like that. So it's just basically a straight fist fight. Yes, fist fight with very fast-tuned JDM cars. What's better than that?
Absolutely, yeah. There's lots and lots of action to come. Before we get this race underway, though, let's head down to Jules. She's catching up with Gran Turismo Series producer Kazunori Yamauchi.
Yes, please give a huge round of applause to Yamauchi-san. Yes. We just wanted to have a quick little conversation before we kick off the Nations Cup, because it is a very, very special year this year. 2 massive things that are happening. First of all, can we please talk about my first Gran Turismo? Please tell us everything about it. It sounds wonderful.
まずはマイファースト GT についてちょっとお話ししていただけますか。すごく楽しそうなタイトルですけど。
はい、マイファースト GT、マイファーストグランツリスモは、 グランツーリスモ7って今ものすごく巨大で複雑なタイトルになっちゃったんですよね。でそれはそれでとてもいいことなんですけれども、一方で、最初のグランツーリスモにあったような、誰でも車の楽しさが分かるっていう、そういうタイトルをね作ってみたかったんですね。それが一つ。あともう一つは、今回マイファーストグランツーリスモって画面のデザインも文字が全部大きかったりしてすごく見やすくなってるんですね。でそれって、お子さんだったりお年寄りだったりあるいは目の不自由な方でもグランツーリスモを遊んでいただけるように、そういうタイトルを作りました。
Yeah, so for my first Gran Turismo, one of the reasons why we created it was because Gran Turismo 7 has become such a huge, complex title, and that in itself is a good thing. But at the same time, we wanted to make something that anyone could just pick up and enjoy and just really discover the fun of cars. The other aspect of it is that my first Gran Turismo, if you look at the screens, the font is much bigger. It's easier to read. So it's for the kids, the elderly, the people, some people that may have some visual impairments, they'll have a lot easier time playing the game because of that's how it was designed.
And also, I like that we're going to have some, fresh blood to the Gran Turismo family. In a few years, we'll have some brand new faces, hopefully.
これを通して新しい顔がグランツーリスモのファミリーに今後入ってくれたら嬉しいですね。
そうですね。なので、グランツーリスモは今後も作り続けますけれども、マイファーストグランツーリスモもね、今後も一定のタイミングでリリースしていけたらいいなと思ってます。
Yeah, so of course, we're going to keep working on the Gran Turismo series from here on as well. But at the same time, we want to continue releasing My First GT every once in a while with updates in the future as well.
Super cool. So, we could talk about just this, but we have such little time. We also need to talk about the 30th anniversary, obviously, of PlayStation. I can't think of PlayStation without thinking of Gran Turismo. You've been around since the very beginning. So it's an important time for you as well.
そうですプレイステーションの30周年記念でもありますけど、プレイステーションってグランツーリスモなしでは語れないと思います。本当に今は重要な時期というか記念すべき時期ですよね。
そうですね。プレイステーションが生まれてちょうど30年、3分の1世紀経ったわけですけれども、グランツーリスモの開発チームって最初のグランツーリスモから、変わっていないんですね。人は増えているけれども、だから相変わらず、グランツーリスモ1を作ったファミリーが今でもグランツーリスモを作っていて、しかも、このワールドシリーズをはじめとしてそのファミリーがねどんどん大きくなっている。それがすごくねグランツーリスモにとっては特別なことかなと思います。
Yeah, so it's been 30 years since the first PlayStation. It's a third of a century, really. And what's incredible is that all during that time, ever since the first Gran Turismo, the development team that made that first Gran Turismo is still with us today and still working on the new titles that are coming out. Of course, we've increased our numbers. There's more of us, working on it now. But I think it's incredible that that first family is still with us today and is still growing. And through activities like this World Series, we hope that we have more people join the family in the future.
Well, could talk about this all the time. I think these guys just want to get the race going. But Yamauchi-san, would you like to pump up the crowd and get them ready for the Nations Cup? You can do my job.
私の仕事をちょっとやってもらいたいんですけど、観客の皆さんをちょっと盛り上げていただけますか。
はい、皆さんこんにちは。いや本当に皆さんがね貴重な時間を27年かなの歴史がありますから、当然、お父さんもグランツーリスモファンでお子さんもグランツーリスモファンでっていうねそういうご家族でいらっしゃってる方もたくさんいてすごく僕らは嬉しいです。
And it's been 25 years, or actually 27 now, since we first started. And we're seeing now fathers that are here with their kids, who are all the GT fans, and it makes me so happy to see that.
はい、で、今日ね、素晴らしい選手たち、ドライバーたちが集まっているので、すごいレースが見られると思いますので、ぜひ皆さん楽しんでいってください。
Yeah, and we have a set of incredible drivers here with us tonight. You're going to see some incredible racing, so please enjoy yourselves.
Okay,
Thank you.
starting. Let's give a big round of applause.
Here is the grid then, lined up, ready to go for the first race of the evening in the Gran Turismo World Series in the Nations Cup. Miyazono will start this one on pole position with Gallo alongside on the front row. This is a sprint race and of course will not only decide the grid for the next race, but it will give them points in this one as well. 12 points to be scored in total in this race, right down to 1 point for 10th position. And you can see there the live points rankings as they sit for now. Kylian Drumont is the points leader, Jose Serrano in second, Takuma Miyazono in third. 3 drivers separated by just 1 point for second as well. Jimmy, looking forward to this.
Yeah, Drumont didn't have the best qualifying session earlier on, of course, which is why he's down there in 8th position. But anything can happen. We've got a good few races coming out, and with double points on offer as well, all can change.
Certainly can. So Takuma Miyazono will lead the field across the timeline then as we get ready to get this one underway. There are the competitors in the bottom left of your screen. Nations Cup action at the Gran Turismo World Finals for this race is about to begin. What will happen as the 12 drivers come across the line and we go racing here in Amsterdam. Miyazono leads the field down towards the first corner, followed by Gallo, Lopez, Serrano and De Bruyn inside the top 5. Over the crest of the hill we go. A fast and frightening first couple of corners as they're pretty blind. We don't really hit the anchors until a couple of corners later. And given the fact that the field is quite spread out due to the rolling start, don't expect any moves in the first couple of corners, but especially as we get onto that long back straight and head in towards the hairpin at the end of it, that's when I'm sure we'll see the drivers making their first overtakes for position.
Ricardo leading, NSX leading, F40, Miyazono, Gallo and Lopez breaking away from the front of the pack. Also going with them is Jose Serrano. But we're about to get to our first big straight here and our first big slipstreaming opportunity. Who's got the power? Let's find out. Miyazono leads. We go into the dark, into the tunnel for the first time here. Awesome to see all these cars out on track together. Gallo there, deep in the slipstream, big speed in the background. Will he go for a move though, down towards the left hand? He does. Gallo goes up into the lead. Easy move there for him, using that straight line speed of the NSX. And up into the lead goes Valerio Gallo. Miyazono does try and come back at him. Not quite there. Kylian Lopez actually getting past Serrano in the background too, but then also having to vie for position with the AMG driver. So this is getting already pretty feisty.
Yeah, pretty feisty in the back as well. Strozer and Barbara have come together and there's an investigation going on for that incident, but pretty calm up in front, but for those couple of overtakes. Down through into the final sector we go. You can already see a bit of daylight beginning to build between Gallo and Miyazono. Lopez and Serrano are going to have to be a bit careful if they don't get involved in squabbling for position for third place, because if they do, they will be set to lose a fair bit of time and it might be difficult for them to make up that deficit as the race progresses on. Meanwhile, the end of the first lap, Gallo, it is at least Lopez picks up a penalty then for track limits, presumably there. Half a second penalty for him. That will drop him behind Serrano when he serves it, and crucially, will it drop him behind the likes of De Bruyn, maybe into the clutches of Carrazza for 5th or indeed 6th place. Lopez also a little bit wide at that first corner. That leaves him under pressure here from Serrano, and the Spaniard in 4th place rather, can't take this lying down. He's got to make every opportunity count while he can. Up the inside as we go through into the left-hander, into the tunnel. Serrano up and through into 3rd place, runs in a little bit deep, but Lopez won't have any chance of retaliation into the next right-hander.
Yeah, you can see these guys squabbling and sort of brought Kai De Bruyn back into the fray. In 5th place currently is the Dutch driver in the R32 GTR. Drumont has made his way up to 6th position there just behind him. So good recovery so far. But what an awesome lineup of cars. I always say this when we use these cars. It's so nice to see all these guys, all these cars on the circuit together. This is what Gran Turismo for me is all about right now. Valerio Gallo leading the way in that NSX down the straights. That looks like a rocket down the straights, Tom. That thing.
Yeah, it's pretty handy in a straight line, isn't it, that Honda NSX? So that's good news for him. Meanwhile, behind you see Serrano and Lopez. Oh, Serrano very sideways. There must have been contact going into that left-hander, because Serrano was fishtailing all over the shop going through there. Lopez still sitting in 4th place, and he's got that half-second penalty to serve, as we know, this time around. Drumont, meanwhile, has managed to escalate himself up a few places into 5th from 8th on the grid, and Sasaki likewise up from 10th into 7th position as well. There's a right gaggle of cars here. Oh, Jimmy, there's an R32 Nissan GTR. You might recognise that.
Yeah, best car in the field, I think, mate, honestly. So Kylian Drumont, of course, a man with chase as he chases Kylian Drumont, and also another very cool car, the Mark IV Supra. So Supra versus Skyline. We're on board now with the Frenchman, Kylian Drumont, and there now is Kylian Drumont sitting just behind him. You can see the power of this thing down the straight there. 250, 260, 270 like it's nothing. 300 kph plus 200 mile an hour as we go into T1 there. Hard on the brakes. And these cars, they are equipped with the racing hard compounder tyres, but they're definitely not racing cars. They don't have the same sort of agility as our Group 3 or Group 4 machines. So it's all power and really just try and figure it out when you get to the corner.
Yeah, you can see Drumont there having a good run here on Coque Lopez coming through this first sector. I thought he might have a dive to the inside there, but Lopez defending that line quite nicely. Drumont tried to switch back and go for the sweeping line to gather more momentum as he came through the next series of corners. We'll find out if he's able to do so when we come through into this next left-hander and onto the straight. The exit through here is going to be absolutely critical. Slightly tighter line and a later apex there for Drumont as he tries to carry the speed through that corner, but the legs on that Ferrari looking pretty handy in a straight line as we go through the tunnel, burst briefly into the daylight, then into the darkness. Your eyes playing havoc with you as you adjust and you come back into the daylight, and we head into the braking zone of the next corner. Meanwhile, up in front, Serrano and Lopez are pretty close for company there as well. Sorry, Miyazono, I should say, and Serrano for second place. Serrano's managed to drop Lopez courtesy of the penalty for the Spaniard, and now Jose Serrano, 1/3 of the Nations Cup winners last year, right on the back of the 2020 champion.
Valerio Gallo sort of bolting away though, nearly a second between him and this man, Takuma Miyazono, and Jose Serrano just behind. I mean, these three drivers, the talent they share between them is insane. So fast in Gran Turismo 7 as we go on board with Jose Serrano just trying to navigate his way through this tight and twisty part of the circuit of La Chicane. This is where these cars struggle the most, and then here's a bit like the best. The big straight here, again in the tow. So great to see Honda versus Lamborghini versus AMG all on circuit at once. Cool, huh?
Oh, it's mega, isn't it? And also, you know, different drivetrains as well. You've got front engine, rear wheel drive, mid engine, rear wheel drive as well. So the different characteristics of that car will come into play at different points over the course of the lap. Meanwhile, Miyazono has got Serrano all over him like a bad rash. He's now got him underneath him as he goes through into the tunnel and into the left-hander. Serrano into second place, and now his next target will be race leader Valerio Gallo, who's some 1.5 seconds up the road.
He didn't put up too much of a fight there, did Miyazono? I think he just understood that, yeah, I've maybe fluffed this corner a bit. I'm just going to just open the steering, let Serrano through and chase for now. Let's see if we can catch Valerio Gallo. Behind these guys, by the way, is that man, Coque Lopez. He's just about fending off Kylian Drumont and Kylian Drumont in the Supra and Skyline combination. As we go into the tunnel once more, there is Coque Lopez in the Ferrari F40. Of course, all these cars who've just joined us tuned to over 1,000 horsepower, which means speeds of 350 k's plus before this big braking zone down at the bottom. Use the camber on the inside to get the car around. Here's a replay. We're on board with Sasaki lower down the field. We go into the chicane. There's Coque Lopez going wide. There's a car on our inside as well. I think that was Kylian Drumont. As we come back across, is there contact? No, they're just about all avoided, but Sasaki loses the place. There goes Kylian Drumont. Does he get past Kylian Drumont? He does. Up into 5th goes Kylian Drumont.
Yeah, lovely bit of driving there for the Dutchman then. Just lost out to Drumont on that last lap. They must have made another mistake, unfortunately, there for the Dutchman, but good overtaking nonetheless. And that just goes to show how the seas can part when you're racing in such close quarters. So just a reminder, this race, 12 points on offer for the victor. Kylian Drumont was the man who was leading the points. If the checkered flag fell now, according to our point standings, he would drop down to 4th. Gallo would inherit the lead of the championship by 2 points going into race 2. But there's still plenty of time left to run and plenty of time for the complexion of this one to change as we head on to the start of the halfway point of this race.
On board with Garazza. Not seen too much of him in this race. He's in the R34 GTR, the Spec 2 Neo, which goes for 40 billion trillion pounds nowadays. don't ever look at how much that car costs nowadays.
Oh, Sasaki, look at that. That's a lunge on the inside of the Brun going through into the left-hander. I didn't think he was going to make that stick. De Bruyne ran a little bit wide. He manages to live to fight another day, but that's a warning sign there, isn't it, for the Dutchman?
Like the traction there of the four-wheel drive from the R32 just pulled him out of that a little bit. But yeah, as you say, Sasaki looking all over the back of Kylian Drumont as we come now into this left-hand. It just seems to have a bit more cornering speed, a bit more able to rotate that car with that mid-engine layout. The rear-engine layout of the Porsche is famous for, but you see down the straights, Kai's gone.
Yeah, the four-wheel drive really helping out Kai de Bruyne in terms of the corner traction, and that really pays dividends, especially when you are on a long straight such as this. Sasaki just has no answer to it, so clearly the Japanese driver knows that his strength is in the twisty bits, in the corners, and that's where de Bruyne in the R32 Skyline is beginning to struggle. Drumont, meanwhile, up the road, now on the back of Koke Lopez, looking to try and find his way past. No, you're not having a fever dream. You have got a Ferrari F40 and a Toyota Supra battling for position here in this race, down through into the left-hander, and surely it's only a matter of time before Drumont starts to attack here.
Yeah, this Supra is pretty much everyone's perspective of what every Supra is. Like 1,000 horsepower and chasing a Ferrari to go heavy in the brakes, or runs into the back of Koke Lopez there. A little bit of contact. Kylian Drumont, I think he just sort of let off there and let Lopez keep the position, because you can't bump and run there. You will get a penalty from our live stewards behind the scenes. But look at the legs on that Ferrari out of the corner, so fast in that first part of the acceleration zone. It's only towards the end of a straight does the Supra come back towards it again. So we're really seeing some strengths and weaknesses of these different cars. Of course, the cars all picked by the drivers after their sector qualifying earlier on. So these are all cars that they've chosen to be in.
You see Kylian Drumont there trying to find his way through on the inside. There's a half a gap appearing here. He'll be a brave man if he can stick it through. And he does! Kylian Drumont makes a late lunge there on Koke Lopez. The door was only slightly ajar, but Drumont elbowed his way past and up into fourth place.
Didn't invite him, did he? He's like, all right, okay, there it is, off I go. So Drumont now in that Supra, has he been released now? That's the question. Was he being held up by Koke Lopez? But the gap now to the front three drivers is now 4 seconds. Serrano now battling with Valerio Gallo for the race lead. Looks to the outside, round this left hand. It's going to be the long way around for Jose Serrano. Does he make it work or not? No, he's on the high side. Gallo comes back on the low side. Great clean racing between these two drivers, and Gallo just chops him off there. Says, no, you know what? No more. I'm taking the line. And I have to say right now, Serrano looks a little bit more racy than Gallo does. Looks like he has the pace at the moment.
Yeah, just looking at the pace last time around, Serrano 45.7, Gallo 46.2. I know, of course, Serrano would have had the advantage of the slipstream down that long back straight, but still that's a good pace difference between the two. Serrano fastest overall in the first sector this time around, despite being behind Gallo. Gallo runs a bit deep into the penultimate turn. That's a warning sign there. He'll live to find another day, can park it on the apex, but now he needs a good run out of this final corner, which he does manage to get, and just thwarts the challenge of the Spaniard for the time being. But we come across the line then to start lap 7 at Trial Mountain. Just a reminder, of course, 12 points on offer here in this race, and it could be set to change the championship order.
What, Serrano there going for the drift entry? I'm not sure he meant to do that. I think he panicked a little bit there. It's so funny seeing Gallo come through there all just sorted out and gripped up, and Serrano just all sideways, but kept the car in one place, but definitely lost a bit of time doing that, but putting on a good show for our Dutch audience here. Through the first sector again. 7 laps down, 10 of 10 and 3 remaining.
See how ginger they're having to be on the power going through there as well, just trying to get the power down, aren't they? They've got a lot of performance, these cars, 1,000 horsepower, but the stopping power, by comparison, it's like the brakes are made out of old biscuit barrels at this point, because they just don't want to slow down when they get to a corner.
I mean, to be fair to most cars, stopping from 350 kph isn't the easiest thing in the world, as we're about to see that now. 360 kph I saw there from Jose Serrano, and he almost, as Tom says, misses his braking, almost touches the back of Valerio Gallo there, and you can see there he's just hardly able to control this V8 under the hood of this AMG here. Now in the background, Miyazona is starting to slowly come back into the picture, but Serrano's definitely the fastest of these first three, but he just can't find a way by Gallo at the moment.
See the live points rankings, and Gallo, if the checkered flag fell now, would be the winner going into the second race of the evening. 3 races to come here tonight in the Nations Cup to be crowning our world champion of 2024, and it is still very much all to play for, especially with double the points on offer for the final race of the season. Out of the final corner we go, across the timing line then to start lap 8 out of 10 here at Trial Mountain. On board we ride here with Jose Serrano. There's some good battles going on further down as well. Sasaki and Lopez pretty close on track for 5th place. Karatza not far behind Kai de Bruyne for 7th position as well. Coming over the crest of the hill through into that left-hander.
Serrano a bit more composed this time through there. He did from his last lap, didn't he? Look how much closer he is because of it. Now, if he's this close going into the tunnel, it's almost a guaranteed overtake. But Gallo has been very, very strong through this first sector all race. So let's watch on board. Jose Serrano locks on to the rear end of that NSX, although Gallo not looking too quick through here this time. This might be Serrano's chance to strike.
You can see some drivers, when we're in different cars, being quite aggressive and soaring their way at the wheel. You can't afford to do that in these production powered machines. It's like driving a spoon through treacle, isn't it? They're just so smooth through those corners, so ginger on the power, so careful on the brakes and on the steering as well. They've just got to try to not upset the balance of the car and keep it as neutral as possible. Here's the slipstream though for Jose Serrano. Bit of a warning shot there for Gallo, but Serrano wasn't close enough on this occasion, so he's going to need to be a bit closer next time around to try and pounce and challenge for position.
I really thought he was close enough that time to have a go, but apparently not. Maybe a bad exit or just thinking better of it. Looking back now from the rear wing of the Honda NSX driven by Valerio Gallo, a man with lots of GT accomplishments underneath his belt. Very, very talented driver from Italy, and pretty much these events don't feel the same if he's not here. As we go down to the chicane, come on to lap 9 very shortly. It'll be just 2 laps to go for Valerio Gallo and his first win in this Nations Cup Grand Final.
I've got to say, I love this Honda NSX as well. It is so nice to see it out racing here in Gran Turismo 7 in the World Finals. I saw one in real life when we were in Tokyo earlier this year, and I could almost have jumped for joy. It's just such a spectacle to behold.
It really is. I mean, great to see all these cars out on circuit. Of course, someone, 2 seconds, we've got a replay. Here's Sasaki and Koke Lopez. So Lopez in the Ferrari F40 in front. What's happening here? Goes a little bit wide. Sasaki just manages to sneak underneath there in that GT3 RS. Off he goes up into 5th place, and Koke Lopez will be frustrated with that one. Yeah, not brilliant for Lopez, dropping down 3 places from where he started. Not ideal at all. It all sort of began really with the penalty that he picked up in the opening stages, and ever since then it's just gone from bad to worse for him really. The upshot is he'll be scoring fewer points in this race. If he finishes 6th, he'll get 5 on the board, but also as well it will mean it will compromise his starting position for the second race, because of course that reflects the order of race 1 here. Much better exit this time from Jose Serrano. A little bit of wheel spin from Valerio Gallo in front. We're deep in the toe. This will be the Spaniard's best chance at a move on Valerio Gallo. Gallo goes defensive to the inside. Serrano's going to be forced to go the long way around the outside. There's no camber out there. Really hard to keep the car in the corner. Gallo keeps it down low, keeps it tight. Serrano tries to drift around the outside but can't quite make it work. And now Gallo knows exactly what to expect come the last lap. But Serrano ever a threat in the mirrors. This is going to be so close on this final lap. You can sense it's bubbling up quite nicely. Will it boil over though for any of these drivers as we head towards the final tour here at Trial Mountain? We've seen a couple of mistakes creep in for Valerio Gallo over the course of this race. Seems to have ironed them out though in the latter parts of this, and is parking his car exactly where Jose Serrano doesn't want it. So down into the final chicane we go. Gallo it is that leads from Serrano. This is for pole position and of course for maximum points in the championship as well. Out of the final corner we go. Gallo it is that leads Serrano. I don't think the Spaniard will attack him towards turn 9, not unless he's a brave man, but we know he is a brave man. Surely he's not going to think about it making it stick. No, he lifts off, decides to wait for the right opportunity as this lap unfolds. Yeah, I mean, he knows that he can get close enough there, but I mean, I would have been tempted if I was Serrano just to put a nose in, just to see if I could distract Valerio. Gallo goes for a dive into the tunnel. Gallo sees it late, just about runs the speed around the outside there, still holds the inside line. Serrano's still second for now, but Gallo he's fully aware of the Spaniard just buzzing around in his mirrors. One small mistake and Serrano's going to be there. Serrano needs the run of his life through these next couple of corners as Robbie Heck picks up a warning for colliding with another car through this left-hander. It is all about the exit. Serrano's pretty close to Valerio Gallo. He'll have the advantage of the slipstream, and he is closer than he was before. This is going to be the opportunity that Serrano's been looking for to go for the race lead. Gallo knows that, goes defensive, but I'm sure it's not going to be in vain as Serrano pulls alongside the Italian. Side by side we go as we burst into the daylight, into the braking zone. Gallo's got the inside line and the camber on the corner though. Can Serrano firm it around the outside? Gallo manages to hold on to the lead as we come through. Serrano still there on the outside, but has to set up a second best as we come now down into the final couple of corners. This is absolutely spectacular here at Trial Mountain, and Gallo, all he has to do is park his car in the right place to not allow an opportunity for the Spaniard to find his way through the left-hander we go on this short run down into the final chicane. And unless it's a lunge from Serrano, it won't be, because Gallo parks his car on the inside. Serrano will try and get the switch back through into the next right-hander, but he's not going to be close enough. Out of the final corner we go. Valerio Gallo wins race 1 here at the Nations Cup for the World Finals in Amsterdam from Jose Serrano in second, and Takuma Miyazono will come home in third place.
race as well. Absolutely fantastic. What a clean, fair battle out on track. And it is Valerio Gallo who takes 12 points in the opening race of the evening.
Yeah, I mean, if that race is anything to go by, we are in for an awesome rest of the evening. Those guys were going at it for about half the race there. Clean, respectful. Gallo just about coming out on top there. But the speed of Jose Serrano, we know how fast this setter is. And he's definitely one to watch out for.
Fantastic job from Valerio Gallo. As I said, parked his car in exactly the right place there to depose Jose Serrano, deny him that chance of victory. Great race also from Takuma Miyazaki. It's a bit of a quiet affair, really, but I think you'll be happy enough with that. A second row start for the second race will certainly be nothing to cry about.
Yeah, and Kylian Drumont, good recovery from him. After that, it was a bit of a sketchy race qualifying for Drumont, but he came back well to score some much-needed points. Takuma Miyazaki was the man who initially led, but we saw Valerio Gallo using that toe, using the NSX straight line speed to get by pretty much straight away, and from then it sort of went from bad to worse for Miyazaki, very quickly losing a place to Serrano too.
Yeah, man who was on the move actually, unbeknownst to us as we were focusing on the battle at the front, was Takuma Sasaki. He made up 6 places at the checkered flag. This was Drumont versus Lopez going side by side on lap 6. The Frenchman getting himself up through into 4th position. He would eventually come across the timing line in 5th place at the checkered flag, with Sasaki having made his way past. This was a skirmish for the race lead between Gallo and Serrano down into that hairpin. The Spaniard trying to hold it around the outside through there, but the camber on the inside of the corner really helping Valerio Gallo get that car a bit more rotated, getting better traction on the exit of the corner, and just managing to retain the race lead.
Yeah, I mean, just anything he tried, Valerio Gallo just seemed to have an answer for. As you say, Tom, that corner at the bottom there, all about getting in the camber, and this was about the closest that Serrano got. You see, again, trying to just drift around the outside, could not make it work. Gallo just putting his car exactly in the right place at the right time. I thought this might have been it here. Serrano spied a gap on the inside in the first sector, but again, Gallo had an answer. But how about this for a battle?
Amazing, down into that final hairpin on the circuit. You can see Gallo just, again, put his car in exactly the right place, and I wonder whether Serrano might get just a little bit more traction to stick a nose through on the inside into the next couple of corners, but nothing doing for him. Gallo takes 12 points, and also the championship lead heading into race 2. Let's head down to Jules to catch up with the Italian.
Amazing race, man, amazing.
But that was really stressful for me, and I wasn't driving. How was that for you, Valerio? That was super intense.
I agree with you.
Yeah, right?
No, I mean, since the first laps, I had to, most of all, fighting with the car, personally, because the NSX was, of course, my choice of heart. And yeah, I mean, I love the car, and it was very fast in this race. I was able to defend easily and attack as well. I attacked Miyazaki at the very beginning, and I tried to escape, but then also Jose was also pretty fast, and he called me up. And yeah, I mean, sorry.
No, you're okay. Take a breath. I don't know how you're
I mean, it was really intense, and Jose really is on track, and I think he's also one of the favorites to win the World Finals, honestly.
I mean, I don't know, how did you keep your cool? Because that was, you know, he made some moves, and you know, brilliantly defended, but it was pretty relentless.
Yeah, I know, it's experience. I think it's experience and the chillness, I would say.
Yeah, okay.
Keeping it chill. Yeah, it's basically that.
Okay, just be chill, everybody. Just be cool, okay? And then it's all fine. Well, look, congratulations. Go get yourself set up, and we'll go back to you, Tom and Jimmy. Give them a round of applause.
Thanks, Jules. Let's take a look at the results from race 1. Valerio Gallo it is that takes top honours, 0.2 of a second in front of Jose Serrano. 12 points in the bag for the Italian, and of course the championship lead ahead of race 2 as well. Then 2 Japanese drivers, Takuma Miyazaki ahead of Takuma Sasaki, who was brilliant in that one. A really quiet, clean race for him. He got up inside the top 4 and just missed out on a podium. Drumont down in 5th place. Lopez will be a bit disappointed with 6th position. But here are the all-important points rankings, Jimmy. 2 points to the good for Gallo.
Yeah, see, it's all mixed everything up now. Of course, Gallo now leading from Serrano, Miyazaki and Drumont, who was leading going, is now in 4th place. But as you see, 2 races still yet to run, still time for other competitors to come back back into it. Sasaki, of course, very impressive there. Kylian Drumont also in with a chance of victory here as well. Just needs a good 2 races.
Helen Strohs will be very disappointed with that. Finished down in 11th place and outside of the points. We'll be unpacking all of the drama that is to come later on here tonight with our press conference. That'll be coming along the way straight after we have finished things here for the Nations Cup. So get involved. Let us know your questions. Ask them in the chat. We'll compile them all together. Not us specifically. Somebody else will compile them all together for us. And we'll be asking them in the press conference, which we're very much looking forward to. I want to know what you want to ask our competitors when they have got themselves onto the top 3 steps of the rostrum. Now, of course, we've not only got racing here tonight, we've got campaigns going on in GT7 as well. Have a look at this. See what we've got on offer for you this weekend, because it's your chance to win some great prizes on GT7.
Dive into the action from inside Gran Turismo 7 with the World Series bonus campaign. Click the Predict the Winners campaign banner on the GT7 world map for the chance to win 1 million credits for each championship by simply predicting who will win. Think of all the amazing cars and upgrades you could snag with that. Don't wait too long. Entries close right before the start of each grand final. Want more prizes? Watch the World Series broadcast in your GT7 game to unlock free in-game rewards. Catch the Nations Cup World Final and you'll unlock the new Ioniq 5N car when the January patch arrives. Don't miss your chance. Tune in and claim your new ride. This holiday season, GT7 is bringing something very special just for you. 2 exclusive holiday campaigns will run from December 15th to January 5th, offering a variety of festive in-game rewards simply for logging in. Don't miss this limited time event. It's our way of celebrating the holidays with you.
So lots of exciting stuff on the way in GT7, and this is my first Gran Turismo as well. Now, I have to say, it's not only been the public that have been playing this. Jimmy Broadbent, you have been sat there hogging the rig all weekend trying to beat a world record.
Mate, it's important to me. All right, yeah, I spent far too much time on that, but yeah, amazing depth here, and everyone seems to really enjoy it so far, especially having all those cars in the background too. Awesome display. Straight over to race 2 then. As you can probably tell, we're at Monza, one of our favourites, and we've got a brand new car for you lined up as well, the Gran Turismo F3500A. This is basically a 90s F1 car that we've got the drivers in. V12 engine in the back of it, racing medium and soft tyres available for the drivers. The starting grid order, of course, reflects the results from race 1. 12 laps of action. It's going to be Slipstream City, surely? Yeah, it feels right having some sort of V12 Formula car at Monza, doesn't it? It feels like that's what we should be having here, but a completely different challenge to what we've just had. Street cars with racing tyres, and now purpose-built Formula cars with tons of downforce, tons of power, and just amazing brakes. So again, points available for this race. Double points from normal, so 12 for win, 10 for second, and 8 for third, meaning that if you're maybe not doing so well right now, or you're middle in the standings like Sasaki or Kylian Drumont, there is a chance to turn it around if you have a good race. Well, the fans here in Amsterdam have had a great time. These are the event shirts, which we actually managed to get our hands on this time. Very rare. And I'm very grateful for that, because they are absolutely wonderful. And it's so lovely to see GT fans. One of the best things about 2024 has been the return of our live audience, and also this as well. The F3500A. Mid-engined, rear-wheel drive, 784 horsepower, 505 kilos. What more could you want? Proper, innit? This is what I'm talking about. But of course, do not forget, our Predict a Winner campaign. It's all working now. we sorted it out. Sorry about that yesterday, but that's as well. Make sure to predict a winner for your chance to win some in-game credits. Yeah, lots of exciting stuff coming on. This is the current standings of the winner predictions. Takuma Miyazono's got 38% of the share. Valerio Gallo, Jose Serrano, Coque Lopez, all, of course, former champions in there as well. Kylian Drumont, he's won the Manufacturers' Cup champion previously, not won the Nations' Cup yet. Could the tables be turning here tonight? Well, the first race didn't go particularly brilliantly for him, as he's dropped down to 4th in the standings, coming into this one from being the leader. But he's still only, 5 points adrift of Valerio Gallo, so there's plenty of time for that to change. Yeah, at this point, I mean, I mean, these points are maybe an indication of how things are going to go, but lots of points still available. But Miyazono there, clearly the fan favourite, as always. I mean, one of the fastest guys here, and every time we come here, he's someone that's always at the sharp end, always in contention.
I don't know if you saw in the audience the gentleman who's got the Takuma Miyazono merch, and we asked if it was, he said to me, is it up for sale? He said, no, I just made it on Friday night because I fancied it. I love that, proper passion. Anyway, let's get race 2 underway. Jules, back to you.
Yes, I'm down here on the floor, and honestly, if race 1 is anything to go by, it's only going to get crazier and crazier for race 2 and the grand final. I can't wait. Can you wait? Are you ready? It's going to get pretty Larry. Let's kick off the race.
Race 2 in the Nations Cup for the Gran Turismo World Finals here in Amsterdam, about to get underway. The Gran Turismo F3500A is the car, Monza is the circuit, and here is how the grid lines up. Of course, it reflects the results of race 1 with Valerio Gallo starting on pole position, Jose Serrano alongside on the front row of the grid, then Takuma Miyazono in third with his compatriot Takuma Sasaki for company. Next up on row 3, it's Kylian Drumont, former leader of the point standings coming into this weekend, with Coque Lopez for company in 6th. Next up is Kai de Bruyne, the hometown favourite here in Amsterdam. Can he spring a surprise? He's got Adriano Carrazza alongside him. Let's see what he can do as well. Callum Roach in 9th position. And completing the top 10 is Robbie Heck in 10th place. And the final row of the grid is comprised of Angel Enestrosa, unlucky not to score in that first race, and he's got Guy Barbara down in 12th position, completing the grid. So, 12 laps of action, compounds of tyres to consider in this one as well. Wait for the 5 red lights to come on. Race 2 of the Nations Cup here in Amsterdam. It's lights out and we're underway. Good start from Gallo, good start from Miyazono off the second row of the grid as well, and he drags down side by side with 3 abreast down in towards the Variante Alta for the first time then. Serrano on the inside, Miyazono on the outside, Gallo in the middle of the picture there as well. Who's going to get dropped out? Serrano shoveled onto the grass. Miyazono now side by side here with Takuma Miyazono as they go wheel to wheel through the Curva Grande for the first time, heading in towards the Della Roggia chicane. And who is going to manage to take the race lead? Gallo's got the inside line, Miyazono's on the outside. It's all kicking off behind, and Gallo manages to retain his pole position and hold on to the race lead. But out wide is Sasaki. He's in the gravel, rejoins, and bang! Loads of cars go straight into the side of him as well.
It's all still going on in the background too. Looks like Kai de Bruyne and Kylian Drumont coming to blows, going through the first of the Lethmos. But after all that, Gallo does manage to get the lead back. Amazing start from Miyazono. Thought he was going to run away with them, but Coque Lopez behind, up 3 places, as is the Dutch driver Kai de Bruyne. So you've got Gallo, Miyazono, Lopez, de Bruyne as we go through Ascari for the first time, and Gallo already starting to put out a tiny bit of a gap, and that's what you want around here. Monza is pretty much slipstream central. If you're anywhere near close to the car behind you, you're going to get a massive draft down the straight, and Gallo is trying to break that right now.
Serrano's managed to move his way up into 6th position there as well, so he's making some relatively good progress. We come across the timeline at the end of the first lap. Gallo it is who's got a 9/10 of a second advantage. That's not outside of the slipstream range, but it's enough for him to not worry about it as he heads down towards the Retafiglio at the start of lap 2. Miyazono in 2nd, Lopez in 3rd. De Bruyne's had a quite brilliant start to this one. Likewise with Lopez as well. They've made up 3 places from where they started. Guy Barbara is a good winner on the opening lap as well. He started down at the back of the grid, if you remember, and he's up into 7th position as the cars cascade through the Curva Grande, sparks flying through there.
I just love seeing these cars that go around circuit. Of course, this car brand new to Gran Turismo and coming to you relatively soon as Coque Lopez defends from Kai de Bruyne going into the first Lethmo. Coque Lopez just shuts the door there on the Dutch driver, but Kai there showing his intention. Very quick driver is de Bruyne. We've seen him over the course of his series never really get the results he deserves. Here's the onboard start from Coque Lopez. What a start it was from him. Great off the standing start there in the toe of the cars behind. You see Gallo, by comparison to Pulsar, had an awful start, and then it's just a matter of just trying to avoid everybody else. Takes the inside line, Sasaki goes wide, Serrano goes off too, and Coque Lopez there just hanging on for dear life up into fourth.
Yeah, just hoping that the seats would part for him, really, because he had a good amount of momentum going through the curve of Grande. You can see him right on the back of Sasaki, and I was hoping we'd stay on board with that, just going in towards the Della Roggia chicane there. I wondered whether we might work out exactly what happened to Sasaki, but sadly not to be. The upshot is the Japanese driver now down into 10th position. So the soft job runners at the start of this race sitting in first down to 6th position. Then you've got a quartet, as it were, of medium shod drivers. Now just bucking the trend is Sasaki there, who's managed to get himself ahead of Angel Inestrosa and up into 9th place. De Bruyne, meanwhile, we know that he loves a high downforce car. We've seen him in the X2019 putting in some great performances over the course of 2024, and now we're back in these Formula cars. You can see that the Dutchman is running well and up, challenging possibly for a podium before too long here.
Yeah, a little bit less downforce in these cars than the X2019. There is our live audience here cheering on, I'm sure, Kylian De Bruyne, their hometown hero, as he goes through the first into Lesmo 2 now. And this is where you can use the toe of the car in front to get a bit closer for a possible move into Ascari, but we're too far back for that right now. Coque Lopez, if anything, starting to pull away a little bit from Kylian De Bruyne.
So down the back straight we go, in towards Ascari.
Serrano's back. He's come back after being shoveled off the course earlier on. The Spaniard started in 2nd place, put down to 5th, but back with a vengeance. This is one man you can never count out. And Jose Serrano with a great recovery back onto the leading pack, as is Takuma Miyazono. That gap's come down from 8 tenths now to only 2 tenths. It looks like the Japanese driver is in a position to strike.
Yeah, Valerio Gallo's going to be under pressure here before too long, and I dare say being passed quite possibly by Takuma Miyazono. Down the start-finish straight we go. Miyazono pulls to the inside. Gallo decides it's all a bit in vain defending it as we head in towards the braking zone. Side by side for 3rd place there as well. Lopez versus De Bruyne, and De Bruyne goes up into P3 as well, much to the applause of the crowd here in Amsterdam. They've absolutely loved that one, and they could see their man doing quite well on home soil here this weekend.
So Miyazono leads the pack in the opposite position from Valerio Gallo. He now has to keep an eye on his mirrors. Gallo, these guys are smart drivers. They race together a lot. There's no point pushing together a lot. There's no point having big fights. So saying that, Coque Lopez and Serrano may be disagreeing with that statement. Every man for himself in Nations Cup. This is no longer a Manufacturers' Cup effort. It's no longer the series format from last year where Nations was a team effort. It's a single...
Oh, Gallo's
Valerio
off.
Gallo's made a mistake. Our leader, our points leader, is off.
Something's happened to Valerio Gallo then, and Sasaki's picked up a 1-second penalty for driving dangerously post-incident, not related there to Gallo, but that is an absolute disaster for the Italian driver. He had it all to do, and of course this will also affect his results, not only the race and the point standings, but where he will start on the grid for the grand final. Barbara, meanwhile, taking profit of that and going side by side with him down in towards the Parabolica. And 1 point to mention in this one, of course, because it's a 12-lapper and we've got 2 tyre compounds, drivers will have to pit. Let's work out what happened, though, to Valerio Gallo. So on board we are. Kylian De Bruyne, I think, is going to be possibly quite close. Did he just he lit it up over the curb all on his own there, Valerio Gallo. Made a mistake in the second Lesmo. And unfortunately there for him, and Kylian De Bruyne takes the lead at the first corner. Fantastic for the Dutchman, and the crowd here absolutely on their feet and loving that as the Dutchman then hits the front here at Monza.
Yeah, well, what a disaster there for Valerio Gallo. Easy to happen. Now Kylian De Bruyne is leading this pack of 4 cars. De Bruyne, Miyazono, Serrano, Lopez, and lighting up the rear tyres and exit. That's going to allow Miyazono to get alongside, coming into the first Lesmo. Not really an overtaking position, though, as they stake through one at a time. 4 cars all separated by less than a second as we are on lap 5 of 12. Coming up now towards Ascari, looking back over the rear wing of Kylian De Bruyne, that V12 engine singing away behind us, 700 horsepower propelling us down to Ascari. But here's a replay. Here is Kylian De Bruyne taking the lead from Miyazono. Easy peasy, uses the draft, goes by Miyazono, and Miyazono doesn't really fight it too much.
You can hear it bouncing off the rev limiter as they come down the start-finish straight, can't they? He'll be hoping for a bit longer in terms of the gear ratios, but either way, he had enough straight-line speed to take profit. But look at the train of cars. Look how close they're following. We've almost got an 8-wheeler going on there between the top 2 at the moment as they come towards the end of lap 5, heading in towards the halfway stage of this race. No sign of pit stops for the soft shod runners at the moment as Miyazono ready to repay the favour on De Bruyne. The medium shod runners of Drumont and Carazza are in. Barber and Inestrosa are also pitted last time around as well. Down in towards turn 1 we go. Miyazono parks his car on the apex, takes the lead of the race away from De Bruyne. So now goes from being the hunter to being hunted. Serrano and Lopez just keeping their powder dry at the moment.
Here's how this will affect at the live point standings. Miyazono would move up to the lead. Serrano second, Gallo would drop to third place. De Bruin and Lopez fourth and fifth. But we still have half the race to go here at Monza. Our second race of the Nations Cup 2024 World Finals. On board with Kylian Drumont through that first left mode. You're getting on board. Look what it's like to drive this new F3500A Gran Turismo race car. So quick, these things through the corners, tons of power on the straight too. You saw getting up to nearly 350 kilometers an hour in the toe down the straight. Crazy speed through here as we go through Ascari.
A bit wide there for Miyazono on the first part of that chicane there. Just set him offline a little bit for the next couple of corners. Won't leave him under too much pressure because he's on a nice run coming out of there. And De Bruin, despite being close to him, is not going to be able to challenge in towards the Parabolica. Even if he was, I don't think he'd want to particularly, because 2x2 through there isn't a move you see all that often. Generally, down into the first corner is where the overtakes are going to be made here.
Interestingly, Lopez has fallen off the back of this little pack here. He opts to pit in. Coque Lopez is the first of the soft runners to pit. Does Gallo follow him in? No, he doesn't. But Gallo is actually catching these guys.
He was quicker last time around by half a second over Jose Serrano, so he's really put pedal to the metal. Carazza and Sasaki all in for their one and only pit stop in this race. So unlike the sprint that we had in race one, of course, we're in completely different machinery, and we've got strategy to consider as well. Who are the big winners and losers going to be in terms of the pit stop? Well, Lopez has worked out quite nicely. He's got a good bit of clear air in front of him, but of course he was about a second or so back when it came into the pits last time around. Possibly trying the undercut here, Jimmy?
Yeah, maybe. It seems that he is boxing early. I'm not sure if that new medium tyre is as fast as an old soft tyre, but we're about to find out. So right now, Coque Lopez, has he come out in clear air? He has. He's got a nice big gap in front of him, so he can drive into that gap now. Maximum attack for Coque Lopez. And if it all goes well, when these guys come in for their pit stop, he'll be ahead of the lot of them. We're on board with Jose Serrano. Awesome recovery from the Spanish driver so far to sit in third place. Very much still in contention.
One thing to consider though for Coque Lopez, behind him, Kylian Drumont is closing that gap down. It was 2.5 seconds at the start of this one. He's on the soft compound of tyre. Guy Barbara not too far behind him there either, and he could be ready to throw a spanner into the works because he of course was on the alternate strategy. Drumont starts on the mediums, he's now on the softs, the quicker compound of tyre to the end of this race.
In comes then Takuma Miyazono to pit lane. He does kind of burn. Serrano stays out. Interesting. Serrano opting to stay out. I don't know if that's the right choice, but we'll see. He does need to do something different here, I think, to have a chance of winning this thing. But the Spaniards splitting their strategies. Miyazono and De Bruin come in, as does Valerio Gallo for that medium compound of tyre. And now it's a sprint race to the end. So Miyazono leads De Bruin. There is Coque Lopez in the background. Does he jump Valerio Gallo? He does. Ahead of Gallo goes Lopez. And now we're going to see if Serrano has made the right choice. This has to be an amazing lap from Jose Serrano. And to be fair, last lap it was pretty damn quick.
Drumont is all over the gearbox though of Valerio Gallo. He's closed that gap down to 0.3 of a second. So this could be a late race charge here from the quartet of soft shop runners. Drumont, Barbara, Inestrosa, and I would say Carazza, but he's a fair way off the back of them. And look at that, Drumont now challenging Valerio Gallo into the Della Roggia and going through into 6th.
I just think it was a better choice to go medium first here, because now if you get that tyre out of the way, you can use the draft of the other cars at the start of the race, and then when they change, of course, to that slower tyre, you have the advantage. You have the car underneath you plus the toe to get by these guys. So let's see if that strategy works for Kylian Drumont. He's got a lot of work to do though. He's not close. He's about 3 or 4 seconds off what will be the overall leaders once everything plays out here. But right now he's currently in 6th place, chasing down Coque Lopez, who is on a slower compound tyre. Let's see how long it takes. Serrano in. Serrano in. Now, has he done enough to stay ahead of this train?
Pit loss time is quite minimal here because it's in a straight line. It's down a fast start-finish straight there as well. You can see the nose to tail coming through this Parabolica. Onto the medium compound of tyre goes Jose Serrano. This is going to be very close on the exit of the pit lane then, but where does Jose Serrano emerge relative to the rest of those drivers around him? Will he hold on to the race lead? I think he will, just about. It's going to be mightily close, and he does take the lead of the race away from Miyazono and Kylian Drumont, who in turn run it a bit deep. They're involved in their own squabble, but they've got to be careful because Drumont is coming like a freight train behind. He's on the soft compound of tyre, and he's only got 3 laps left to the checkered flag, but he's got time, he's got the possibility, and now he's got the motive.
What a run by Jose Serrano, really putting in that lap time when it mattered. But he's got Miyazono and De Bruin charging behind, and this man, Kylian Drumont, on that soft compound of tyre, being followed actually by Guy Barbara, who's actually just had a mistake. Our commentator's curse, I'll say that. But Kylian Drumont looking fast right now. He's got the tyre advantage, he's got the toe. It should be fairly easy to dispatch these guys if he can do it at the right time. But then, the other question, can he put away, or when he gets stuck in the slipstream straight with the rest of them, goes to the inside of Kylian Drumont into a scurry, will use that tyre advantage. The French driver up into third place and now looking like a real threat for the race win here.
Kylian Drumont rather, I should say, started this race in 5th position. He's now up into 3rd place. He's onto the podium as well, and that is more points on the board. Just a reminder, 12 points for the victory, down to 1 point for 10th place. And of course, this race result will decide the grid for the grand final coming up later on here tonight as well. And that could be absolutely critical. So across the timing line we go then to begin lap 10 at the front. Serrano leads 7/10 of a second in front of Takuma Miyazono, but the fast-charging, soft-shot Kylian Drumont is on the brakes. He's into the Rettifilio chicane for the next time of asking, and he has got a significant amount of pace underneath him. And you wonder how long it is going to be before he's going to be closing up onto the back of the Japanese driver in front of him.
You can see the difference in traction there, Tom. Really able to get that power down a bit quicker than Miyazono in front. Of course, being helped out by that slipstream as well, all over the curbs there. Oh, it's very sketchy checking the car that's this stiff over a curb like that, but just about managed to get it through in one piece through the two Lesmos. Kylian Drumont, though, is holding on back there. But we do have, again, if you look at the tyre wear there is a risk that towards the end of this race, Kylian Drumont's tyres are going to start to fall away from him. So what that means is now is the chance, now is the time to make all those moves and try and stay ahead. Guy Barbara there being slapped with a 2-second penalty for an incident we've not seen yet, but I'm sure will be shown at some point.
Yeah, that was with Coque Lopez. We saw it under investigation a couple of laps ago. So Barbara deemed at fault. Down the straight we go, in towards the Parabolica to start the penultimate lap of racing here. And Drumont, just to give you an idea of lap times, 25.1 for Miyazono last round, 23.7 for Kylian Drumont, which just goes to show the pace difference here in the soft tyre. And surely he is now going to close up onto the back of Takuma Miyazono, and he does indeed do so. Side by side, we're about to go down in towards the Rettifilio. Up the inside goes Kylian Drumont, and through into second place for the Frenchman. He made that look easy.
Can Drumont make this happen? He's come from 5th place on the grid and now is in the wheel tracks of Jose Serrano. Serrano's driven an amazing race, shoveled off at the start of the lap, of the start of the race, and then having to recover from there. Now here's the replay. Here's why Guy Barbara was giving a 2-second penalty. I mean, yeah, he just sort of drove Coque Lopez off the circuit and then came back across. Oh, and Valerio Gallo caught up in that massively.
Yeah, he got sandwiched in the middle, didn't he there, Valerio Gallo? Nowhere to go, not his fault at all. And Guy Barbara, as you say, unfortunate for him, unfortunate though more so for Valerio Gallo and for Coque Lopez. Live points rankings, as you can see at the moment, mean that Jose Serrano would take the lead of the standings going into the grand final, which is double the points again, 24 points for the victory. But if Kylian Drumont manages to win this one, he will put himself in a prime opportunity for leading the standings as we come through, ready to start the final lap of racing here at Monza.
This has got to be it now. So Drumont is close. He'll have a chance here at the end of the straight if he can get a good exit out of the Parabolica here. So we're looking back from Jose Serrano, the Spanish driver. He's led this race for the last few laps with an awesome overcut strategy on that soft compound tyre. But look in the mirror. Here comes Kylian Drumont. He's not going to quite be close enough, I think, for a move to the first chicane. Looks to the inside, tries to get into the mirrors of Jose Serrano, and it works. He goes a little bit wide there, and Drumont is now all over the back of the Spanish driver. That is how you do it. Distract him, get in that mirrors, and now Drumont's got a real chance of making this move.
On the inside through the Curva Grande, then side by side they go. Drumont's going to have the outside line into the next corner. Serrano's going to try and stick it with him on the inside, side by side into the braking zone, and Serrano manages to hold the lead of the race away because he can't go 2 by 2 through there. Down into the Lesmos. Surely his best chance is going to be into either Ascari or the Parabolica here, Jimmy.
That was great defence by Serrano on the tyre that's slower than Kylian Drumont. Manages to hold him there. And now a good exit from Serrano up towards Ascari. Drumont's not close enough. He's going to have something very special for Ascari. Maybe try and get a slingshot. Use the rest of that tyre life through this left, through the right, and through a left once more, running down to the Parabolica. But the dirty air coming into play too. I don't think it's close enough, Tom, but here we are. This might be it for Kylian Drumont. Can he get close enough into Parabolica?
So in the slipstream then is Kylian Drumont through in towards the final corner of the second race of the evening in the Nations Cup. He closes up under braking. Serrano versus Drumont for the victory here at Monza. Is it going to be a drag to the line? Spaniard versus Frenchman as we come to take the checkered flag. Serrano wins it from Drumont. Miyazono takes third. A fantastic race and superb defensive driving from the Spaniard, giving him the championship lead going into the grand final. De Bruyn finishes in 4th place, just off of the podium there as well, the hometown hero here in Amsterdam. But that was a fantastic final lap for Jose Serrano and for Kylian Drumont. Drumont tried as hard as he could, and Serrano didn't make it easy. He parked his car in exactly the right place at the right time. There was only one real opportunity, and as such, it does mean that Jose Serrano has the upper hand going into the last race of the 2024 season.
That'll be a difficult one for Valerio Gallo to swallow, I think, after that. Getting caught up in an incident that wasn't his fault, but of course, the first mistake completely on him, and it just takes one mistake here. The level is so high that that's all it takes to take yourself out of contention. But this is how we started the race, of course, standing start. Great start from Takuma Miyazono, managing to jump Gallo and Serrano at the start and going up into the lead. But of course, Serrano, you were seeing, having a few issues at the start, meaning he would drop back through the field.
Yeah, Jose Serrano there, as you say, going off onto the gravel. We were quite disappointed with that one. This was Miyazono challenging Gallo for the race lead as we headed down in towards the first corner. This is lap 4 out of 12. Meanwhile, Gallo versus Miyazono, and that was a moment there for Gallo which really defined his race. It was the beginning of the end, unfortunately, for him. Let's have a look then at the results, shall we? Serrano takes victory, 12 points, and the title lead going into the final race of the year. Drumont in second. He tried as hard as he could. You can't take it away from the young Frenchman, but second best is what he has to settle for. Miyazono in third. De Bruyn, great haul of points for him. We thought he would be on for the podium as well. Let's take a look at what it means, though, for the points rankings. So Serrano has got a nice, comfortable cushion of, 5 points going into the grand final.
And interestingly, the drivers that we sort of started with are the ones that are kind of left, really, for contention going into that grand final. It is double points yet again, so again, things can turn around. But Serrano 32, Drumont and Gallo both on 27 apiece, and Miyazono just one behind on 26 points there. But, I mean, what a race from Serrano. So impressive, that.
Yeah, double points then. Let's go down to Jules, who's catching up with our winner, Jose Serrano.
Yeah, you know, we just thought we'd hang out, have a little rest after that. How did you find out? How was it driving those cars? They looked, first of all, sorry, I'm going to digress. It looked fun. Was it fun?
Yeah, it's fun, it's faster, so it's so good.
Yeah. And also, obviously, you made that decision, you know, not to stay out and not to pit. And obviously, that was the right decision. Had you what made you decide to do that in the moment?
I saved the tire a lot, and I decided to pit one more lap. So it helped me so good. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how did it feel after the first race, where you were being, you know, you're being rather aggressive there towards Valerio? How did it feel to have Kylian behind you this time? And
so stressful.
Yeah, kicking the back of your car, like. But you kept it together.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're feeling good. You seem on very good form this weekend.
I feel great.
Yeah. Yeah. Should we give him a big round of applause? Brilliant stuff from Jose there. Well done. Good luck.
Thank you.
Grand final.
Cool as a cucumber, isn't he, Jose Serrano? And cool it has been here this weekend in terms of the weather. Look at this, though. This is an absolutely spectacular venue that we've been in for the World Finals in 2024. The Theatre Amsterdam. You'll never guess where it is with that name. But look at these cars down there. You've got a Porsche 911 GT3 RS, Toyota Supra, the brand new Hyundai Ioniq 5N as well. So, yeah, there's a real smattering of machinery. We've got the media here, we've got an audience here, we've got racing that's going down to the final one as well of the season. You can't ask for more.
It's like we scripted that, didn't we? That's how we've done it. No, I wish we could say we were that clever, but yeah, it's all going to come down to this final race. Super excited to see what comes.
And look at where we are as well. The Nürburgring, 24 hours at the circuit that Jimmy Broadbent is pretty familiar with in the Red Bull X 2019. Racing hard, medium and soft tyres available for the drivers. They must use each tyre type at least once. A 7-lap duration, a rolling start for them as well. Jimmy, what are the tricks of the trade around this track?
Well, you say it's just carrying the speed, but in this X 2019, it's impossible not to carry speed around here. So fast, and watching these guys in practice try and wrangle this downforce monster around what I think, anyway, is the most challenging circuit in the world. It's a sight to behold. 7 laps is a long time to keep that level of concentration. Every corner here could end up with a DNF if you just put the car in the wrong place. A reminder, double points we're going to say here. So it's 24 points available for the winner here. Massive haul of points if you can come away
victorious in this grand final, and that can change everything.
Yeah, it certainly can. So just a reminder of the point standings. Jose Serrano, 32 points for him going into this one. Kylian Drumont, only 5 points adrift. Likewise, Valerio Gallo as well. It's still mathematically possible for, what's that? Oh, we've got about 8 drivers still within a shout, technically, of winning this one. They would have to hope for a lot of misfortune for others, some further down the order, but it's not out of the equation whatsoever. This man here, Valerio Gallo, he'll be ruining what happened in that second race, but he's still very much in contention, sitting joint second in the standings. Now, the Red Bull X 2019, we love this car in the Nations Cup. It has been the highlight of the last few seasons. 816 horsepower, 650 kilograms, a high downforce monster at a very tricky circuit.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even fathom getting this car around here at these speeds. These guys are going to be racing. Overtaking spots that wouldn't usually be overtaking spots will appear. Corners that are nowhere near flat usually are going to be completely flat in this. And although that isn't just what's going to come into this race, also we do have our lovely tyre strategy graph prepared by our tyre boffins. Now, what do you make of this, Tom?
Yeah, I love this this circuit, and I love the fact that you've got the tyre strategy to be involved in as well.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that the drivers generally ignore it, although maybe not so much here, because the fact the lap is quite as long as it is. You know, if you decide to go for another lap around a track that's 5 kilometres, it's a bit different to the green hell, isn't it?
Now, the strategy in the middle is the one that I was chatting with Nico Romero earlier, who's not in this series before. I reckon it's going to be 2-4-1 on that. 2 on the soft, 4 on the mediums, 1 lap on the hard tyre. You might think, well, why would you use that hard tyre for only 1 lap when it lasts longer? Well, look, it's nearly 10 seconds a lap slower than that racing soft tyre. So again, get off that hard tyre as quick as possible.
Now, the thing is, with the Nordschleife circuit as well, Jimmy, it's very much one at a time through a lot of the circuit. You can't find your way through. Now, if you're Valerio Gallo, say, for example, you're not starting as far up the order as you would be liking for this grand final, do you take a gamble and go on the soft tyre, or is that going to be in vain because of the fact that you might not be able to find your way through for a good portion of the lap?
Well, yeah, you want to use that soft tyre ideally when you have a clear circuit ahead of you. One of the other things to take into consideration here is dirty air. I mean, this circuit, as you said, Tom, already pretty difficult to pass at the best of times, but then you throw in dirty air, which makes it harder to get close to someone in front of you. So, I don't know. I'm glad I'm not the one down there having to make this choice. I get to just sit here and yap about it, which I think I do a bit better than driving, to be honest.
I don't know about that.
Oh,
anyway, so that was a cheap shot. It's the last one, isn't it? Anyway, don't forget about the Michelin driver of the day as well. Hashtag GT7, hashtag GT World Series as well. Let's get the grand final then underway, down to Jules.
Yes, this is it. After all the hard-fought battles, all the racing, everything, traveling the entire world, it comes down to this race, the final race of the Gran Turismo World Series Nations Cup season. It all comes down to this. You guys ready? It's going to be great. We'll see you on the other side.
Live events in 2024, 12 drivers and only 1 world champion. It all comes down to this. The Nations Cup Grand Final is on the way, and here is how the grid lines up for one last time in 2024. Red Bull X 2019 is the car, and on pole position the winner from race 2 and the championship leader, Jose Serrano. Kylian Drumont joins him on the front row of the grid. Row 2 headed by 2020 champion Takuma Miyazono. Next up is Kai de Bruin, the Dutchman, to a roar from the Dutch crowd. Angel Nostroza, P5. He loves these cars. We know he can be quick. Valerio Gallo down in 6th place. He's got a bit of work to do, and he's got Guy Barbara in 7th position right behind him as well. Next up, Adriano Carrazza, P8 on the grid. And just inside the top 10, Takuma Sasaki, who's had a bit of a difficult second race. completing the top 10. It is Robbie Heck, the American driver. Next up, his compatriot Callum Roach in P11. 12th and last on the grid, Coque Lopez. He has also got a lot of work to do from that far back. Now, let's look at the tyres for the final time this season at the start of the race. Serrano, he's got clear track in front of him here, Jimmy. He wants to make hay while the sun shines and get off into the distance.
Yeah, that is the right choice, I think, from Jose Serrano. He needs just to make himself a big gap as quick as possible, use that clean air, use that soft tyre, and just be efficient with his time. Interestingly, we mentioned Valero Gallo before we started. He's gone for that hard compounder tyre, so he's opting to try and basically be the cork in the bottle for the rest of the drivers and opting to go fast a bit later on.
So then coming through to the start-finish line we are. Here are the live points rankings. You can see Jose Serrano it is that leads it then. 5 points over Kylian Drumont. Double points on offer for this grand final. And only one driver that can be crowned as the 2024 Nations Cup World Champion. Jose Serrano will lead the field across the line. Drumont in second, Miyazono in third. For one final time in 2024, we are about to go racing. It's lights out and we are underway for the grand final of the Nations Cup in 2024 here at the Nürburgring. Serrano leads them down towards the first corner, followed by Drumont, Miyazono, De Bruyne and Inestrosa. A rolling start for the drivers. Don't expect any heroics down into that first corner, but you should expect Serrano to try and clear off into the distance with the soft tyres and the clear air in front of him.
You look at the gap already, 7 tenths of a second in the background there as Roach gets by Sasaki. Gallo also moving behind Karatsa, but Serrano, the right choice for him for his race, is just going to get away early and try and avoid squabbling with his guys behind him. Drumont ahead of Miyazono and Kai De Bruyne looking already for a move on Takuma Miyazono. Maybe a bit of contact on the way there through there, but De Bruyne up into third place and showing his intention early.
He didn't take that one lying down, did he, Kai De Bruyne? He just wants to make hay whilst the sun shines. He knows how tricky this Nordschleife circuit is. We're on the Grand Prix layout at the moment, but as we head on to the proper Nordschleife, it really does begin to narrow up. Look at that, 1.5 seconds for Jose Serrano in the opening stages of this race. Keen to see also what Robbie Heck is going to be able to do from 7th position. He's on the soft tyre, and he is going to be a lot quicker than those in front of him on the medium compound tyre. But will he be able, of course, to use that speed? That's the question that we were asking at the start of this race, and as we head on to the green hell, we're about to find out what will happen. Bit of a wiggle on the exit of the corner there for Kai De Bruyne. And down in towards the elevation and the fast part of this circuit we go. Just beautiful to watch this on board here with Takuma Miyazono. And you can see how close he is to Kai De Bruyne, but he's not going to be able to use any of that momentum at the moment. So De Bruyne's hoping to hold it into third place and then try and use some of the strategy a little bit later on to try and play things out.
It's mad seeing the speed of these things through the first part of the Nordschleife here, the Nürburgring proper. And you have no time to think. You get through one corner and another one is upon you, completely flat there after Flugplatz. Now we take the long run down towards Schwedenkreuz, a corner that in real life in most cars is a bit of a lift and a bit of a panic. In this car, watch Takuma Miyazono throttle input there through his left-hander. Of course, completely flat at 200 miles an hour before braking hard down to Arbe. Just touched the grass there on the left. Very lucky to get away with that, and now we plummet down towards the forest, between the trees, down towards the compression and the foxhole. Again, completely flat down here for these drivers, keeping that foot pinned even for the left-hander here before we slow right down for Adam now forced a very tricky section through here. And Takuma Miyazono showing that he can follow close to Kai De Bruyne, who's touched a couple of curves through there, unsettling the car. You don't want to do that. The curbs here on a Nordschleife are very tall. You hit them in the wrong way, they're going to send you into the barrier.
Robbie Heck making good progress. He's got himself ahead of Angel Inestrosa, up 5 places from where he started. So he really managed to take advantage of that soft tyre when they were on the Grand Prix layout of track, and now he's up inside the top 5. I wonder if his progress is going to stall somewhat as we come through this section of the circuit. You can see Miyazono and De Bruyne very close to one another, and then a fairly pronounced gap, about 1.5 seconds or so, back to Robbie Heck in P5 at the moment. Inestrosa in 6th position, Karatsa inside P7, Gallo on the hard tyre. I suppose the converse as well, Jimmy. You know, we're talking about the soft tyre and not being able to use it necessarily to your advantage on this tricky section of the track. If you're on the hard tyre, it might be a benefit because you might not be able to let anybody pass at this point on the track.
Yeah, sort of the idea really. You use the hard tyre to really hinder other people. But here's a replay. We're on board with Karatsa going down on T1. We have a lunge on Guy Barbara. We don't look at it. Barbara and Gallo are side by side. Oh, just gets a little bit sideways there. There's contact there. Barbara hits the wall, then hits Gallo. And Karatsa just about manages to get by all of them up in to, I think it's going to be a net 6th place once he gets by Valerio. There it is. So a nice start from Karatza there, if not a little bit hectic.
Yeah, it was all hectic in front of him, really, wasn't it? With Barbara and Gallo coming together in that second corner, and that sort of started off that chain of events. Either way, it's worked out quite nicely for the Brazilian, as Kylian Drumont has still got Takuma Miyazono all over his rear wing at the moment. Drumont's doing enough, 3.6 seconds though behind Jose Serrano, but the race will come to him a little bit later on, so there's no point worrying about the gap in front. All he can do at this point is control what is in his hands, just worry about his own race and get on with the job. In towards the carousel, probably the most famous section on this Nordschleife circuit.
I watched something. that absolutely froze it through there, and now we get to the highest point of the circuit, Hoa Axe, this corner, and it's all downhill from here, although literally, not figuratively, as we now just try and make our way through what I think is the most challenging part of the circuit. So much camber, so much elevation here from Wimmerman, like it's nothing. Completely flat through there, on the brakes, use the camber on the inside of this right hand, and again, dive to the left, hug that curve before you come up to Bridgestone 1 and Bridgestone 2, almost known as YouTube corner. In this right-hander, again, just throwing the car. It looks effortless in this Red Bull X 2019. It's just ridiculous to watch this, isn't it?
So blind they are, those corners as well. They come up you so quickly, don't they, through there. Kylian Drumont just a little bit wider on the left-handers a few moments ago. Down through the compression we go into there.
Just a lift of the throttle there. Up to Flanskar. What's going on? I could not keep up with this. This is too much. I mean, like, this is why these drivers are the best in the world. And it might look easy watching it, but you think how quickly these corners are coming up on you. You have to be precise every corner, otherwise you end up just spearing off into the barrier. Climb the carousel now. See, Drumont not quite. See, this is what I mean. A little bit eager on the throttle there, and then slow on exit. And that means he's going to be under attack from Takuma Miyazono going on to this long back straight, Le Dottinger.
Yeah, lovely to see the Dottinger again. Great chance for some slipstreams as well. De Bruyne is being pulled along somewhat by Kylian Drumont. Miyazono, did he lift off the throttle there coming down that back straight? Just wonder, because he was quite close to Kai De Bruyne and he's not quite able to find his way past. Maybe saving a bit of fuel in the early stages of this race, something to consider as well, because they are pretty thirsty machines, this one. He is now side by side at the end of the Dottinger, then through the left-hander we go, and still he is on the outside here, but you've got to be careful because it's a bit sketchy going through there as it's so close to the grass into the braking zone. We've seen a few instances there in the Gran Turismo World Series over the last 6 years or so. Thankfully, not this time.
Yeah, to give you an idea of the pace advantage, it's a 6:24 from Serrano from a standing start for a rolling start, and a 6:30 from Kylian Drumont. So that's a 5-second difference there between the two drivers. And Drumont now doing a good job in second place, the faster of the medium runners, but not able to keep the pace of Serrano on that soft. Lopez opting to come in early from that hard compound tyre, as we thought he would, but Gallo, from what I can see, has opted to stay out another lap.
I was just about to say, interestingly, Gallo and Barbara have not decided to pit then, so they're going as long as they can on the hard tyre. I mean, we generally say that the hard tyre is lava. You want to stay off for it for as long as possible, for as short time as possible, but there's obviously some method in the madness here for Coque Lopez. He thinks he can either eke out either the soft or the medium tyre an extra lap. Again, it doesn't sound like a particularly long amount of time, but when you consider the amount of tyres, the amount of force and energy going through them, a lap around here, it's an awfully long time, and you've got to make that gamble and be confident in it before you come into the pit lane, because if you made a mistake, well, you're going to pay for it for the next 6 minutes.
I mean, I did watch some practice earlier on, and the soft tyres are pretty cooked after 2 laps, which Serrano's just gone on to lap 2 of that soft tyre. So I think it stands to reason the medium might struggle to do 4 as well. But we settle on them watching Kai De Bruyne making his way through the chicane very, very quick through there, and now back on to the Nordschleife, the northern loop. Really awesome to see these cars and make their way around this legendary circuit. I mean, we'd race it every time we come here if it was up to me, of course, but that's why it's not up to me.
Look at the fuel, though, there for Serrano versus Drumont, etc. You know, he's done about 6 or 7 litres more fuel, Jose Serrano. Doesn't sound like a particularly great deal, but that's, you know, another couple of seconds in the pit lane that he's going to spend putting fuel into his car relative to those around him if he's not able to save it. The crucial thing is, of course, that Serrano doesn't have the advantage of the slipstream. He's punching the hole in the air. Those behind the likes of Drumont, they of course can afford to save a little bit of fuel. We saw that with Miyazono on the first part of the Dottinger Hill, just lifting off of the throttle, coasting as it were, and just trying to save those crucial sort of millilitres, litres, as it were, to try and give him an advantage when it comes down to the pit stops.
Yeah, I mean, there is going to have to be fuel that goes in the car. We calculated around 96 litres for the entire race, give or take. And these guys are burning through their fuel quickly. The best gone through so far actually is this man, Kylian Drumont. He was doing what he said he was doing earlier on, just sort of hanging behind Kylian Drumont, being pulled along by this train in front of him, but also saving that time in the pit stop. There's so much that goes into these races. It's not just good enough to be fast, you've got to be smart as well. And Miyazono has always been that sort of person that has that running in the back of it, has that capacity to think about things, and that's super important to be successful here in the GT World Series.
The good thing is for Coque Lopez, though he pitted at the end of lap 1, it's a bit of an outlier compared to the rest of the field. He has got, obviously now, a lovely bit of clear track in front of him, 21 seconds to not worry about closing up into the back of many cars. The risk is, of course, if you go for the soft tyres in the middle stint and you end up stuck behind someone who's on a medium or a hard competent tyre and you can't find your way through, well, it's all in vain, isn't it, really, because you've got that extra pace and no opportunity to be able to use it through these sweeping corners that, again, so blind that you've got to be so precise and lightning on the reactions that this is where the dirty air will really be beginning to kick in. That's the converse, of course, because it will cause you more tyre wear, despite the fact that you can save fuel in a straight line.
Yeah, through Adenauer here, there's medium speed corners, so if you lose a grip, you really feel it as we go back up the hill once more. Interestingly, we'll keep one eye on Coque Lopez, because he's gone a completely different direction from everyone else. He's pitted super early, got that hard tyre off, and now he's on a soft tyre with no one in front of him, so he can just push into that gap as hard as possible. This is what Lopez tends to do. He never ever seems to be in a good position going into these final races, but always finds a way to make the strategy work. If we go back on board with Kylian Drumont, there is the trophy these guys are all fighting for. They're the Nations Cup trophy. Which man will have his hands on that when the race checkered flag falls on lap 7 in a few moments' time? Kylian Drumont still there, still on board, getting a tub hill from Kylian Drumont. Fuel-wise, Kylian Drumont and Miyazono have used about 3 litres less fuel than Drumont in front. So staying where they are now actually might be, I mean, that's worth a second. It's 3 litres per second.
That's it, yeah. So they're just playing the smart game at the moment, biding their time. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You've got to be careful. You've got to use your head in these races. Unlike what we saw in the first one, where you can sort of afford to lunge your way through on the inside or send it around the outside and, you know, throw caution to the wind, so to speak. You can't do that here in these longer form races. You've really got to be sensible, figure out your strategy and find something that works for you. And also, crucially, not make too many mistakes, because a second here, a second there, half a second even, could be absolutely critical.
Really interesting to see what the lap time is going to be for these guys on that medium tyre. 6:24 for this is ridiculous for the full layout. To give you some context, of course, I'm lucky enough to race the equivalent of a Group 4 car in real life, and our best lap time was like an 8:38. That's 2 minutes, 2 and a bit minutes faster. That's just ridiculous around here.
I'll give it a matter of time, Jimmy. It's probably, you know, a matter of time before you end up in some kind of fast prototype, isn't it?
Oh, please, not here, please. I don't want to.
Shut your eyes, turn the wheel, and hope for the best, wouldn't it?
I just don't want to do it.
Through the long right hander we go, then the fast left hander as they make their way through, and Kylian Drumont, as we say, just biding his time, keeping it patient. Roach has got a penalty as well down there in 8th position. Didn't quite see exactly what that was all about. He's made up 3 places though from where he started, but he's got Sasaki not too far adrift down there in 9th position. Gallo also, as we know, on the hard tyre as it stands for now. We should see a flurry of activity in the pit lane at the end of lap 2. For my money, you're going to see at least the hard shot runners coming in. I reckon we're probably going to see the soft shot runners of Serrano and Heck probably pitting, because I don't think they'll have much life left in them.
Interestingly, the gap to the front hasn't extended in the same way. So I think we're seeing that second lap on that soft tyre is nowhere near as strong as the first. I mean, to be expected. Serrano's tyres now are starting, you can see there the rear tyres are starting to get to the point where they're really, really struggling. That'd be bad traction, bad braking, the bad tyre wear affects everything about a car. As we come down again, watching Kylian Drumont again. Miyazono, I've got the impression, just lifting that throttle, just letting himself coast up to the back of the cars in front, giving himself the maximum possible pit advantage. Now, all these guys come into the pit lane this lap. Let's see, Kylian Drumont, they all stay out on that medium compound tyre, but our leader, Jose Serrano, is into the pit lane, as is Robbie Heck behind on the soft tyres.
So medium trim runners again, trying to go as long as possible, trying to do, what, 4 laps on those medium tyres, quite possibly. We're on lap 3 now, so Serrano comes into the box. He, of course, has used more fuel because he's been punching the air in front of him, and that is the difficult thing about leading the race in circumstances such as this. Though, of course, you can get clear air and run your own time, you are going to be expending a bit more fuel, and it's a lot easier to gain time on track than it is to lose time in the pit lane. You know, a second here, a second there doesn't sound like a lot, start, but in the pit lane, it takes you ages to get that back on track, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. I mean, like, as you say, a second in the pit lane is much easier to lose than a second on circuit, or to gain even. So, yes, Serrano, so he's back now in P10. Lopez, interestingly, ahead of him now on that soft compounder tyre, so it goes to show that Lopez's first stint was actually pretty good.
Yeah, really good from Coque Lopez, former Nations Cup champion, of course, won it back in 2022, part of the winning lineup as well as Team Spain when it was a team competition in 23.
I'm trying to understand. Lopez must have been a blinder to do that, surely. Well, am I being silly here, Tom?
No, he's worked it quite nicely here so far. You know, he's still 17 seconds off the back relative because, of course, he's got Robbie Heck behind. He's closed up the gap quite nicely, about 5 seconds or so, compared to where he was when he came out in that pit stop. So it's working out quite nicely for Coque Lopez, but, again, those around him have still got to make their pit stop. You know, there's, another 10 seconds roughly there and thereabouts in Astroza, Sasaki to make up the road. So we'll see how it works out. And, of course, the converse for Lopez, though he's got that nice bit of clear air, he doesn't have the slipstream. He can't save fuel like those others who are in close competition around him. So that could come to hinder him when he gets to the pit time again.
Yes, definitely. And from there, right now, the men in the best possible position for that are De Bruyne and Miazona. Now, Kylian Drumont is now leading this race. From the front back, the Frenchman always been very, very fast in these competitions, and we know he has the ability to win here in the Gran Turismo World Series. Fast as that, though, so far belongs to Takuma Miazona, the man in third place, a 6:25.7, only marginally faster than the cars around him, but enough to have the fastest lap for now. But I guarantee you, as the race goes on, that is going to fall dramatically.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Kai de Bruyne just keeping watching brief on proceedings. There is Kylian Drumont. In terms of the fuel, he's exuded another 4 litres compared to the Dutchman at the moment. So just see how tight those margins are there as well as they make their way through these corners. It almost looks like they're flirting with the grass, the curb, every single opportunity going through those fast corners.
What's the magic of the Nordschleife is it isn't as a traditional racetrack. It's a relic from a time that's gone, but still somehow used and raced on today. Well, look how close these barriers are. You make a mistake, you're on the grass. I mean, you're in the grass, no grip, you're in that barrier almost straight away. And it really is a track that demands your attention. It demands skill and precision. And then on top of that, we launch these guys into the fastest cars in the game and go, yeah, off you go, enjoy that, have fun. I say that outside of the Tomahawk. I would love to see a race in those.
That would be class.
Yeah.
One day. That's the thing I love about the Nations Cup as well, as the variety. You know, we started off in 1,000 horsepower road cars, no downforce, you know, not particularly brilliant when it comes to braking power compared to a racing car. And then speaking of that, we end up in a racing car for the second one, where we're in, you know, a 90s Formula car. And then for the last one, we're in a modern day hyper-powered Red Bull X 2019, which has got more downforce than you can shake a stick at. This is Lopez. Yeah, making his way past Robbie Heck. Heck on the hard compound of tyre here, coming through, and that was nicely done. Heck not holding him up too much, but again, nice bit of clear air there for Coque Lopez to just try and take profit of it. Where's his next gap up the road? 18 seconds. He's again in a nice, comfortable position at the moment, but again, I just wonder what it's going to look like for him in terms of fuel relative to those up the front. I'm just looking at the fuel savings for some of them, 32, 33 litres for De Bruyne and Miazona. Lopez, about the same, 33. He's just ticked over to as well. So it's working out okay there for Coque Lopez. He's on the soft tyre, but let's not forget, he is going to have to owe the medium tyre at the end of this one, whereas others around him may owe the soft. So it might put him out of sequence.
Yeah, it does get a bit complicated now. We've got a lot of different strategies going, lots of numbers being thrown at us and at you guys at home. But what we do know is once all the pit stops are said and done, we'll know exactly who's where and what fights are going to be on for the end of the race. Drumont has fallen back a little bit to Kai de Bruyne. He did try to, I think, make a little bit of a gap to these guys, but he pushed hard and ended up using a little bit of fuel. And now he's realising that, oh no, maybe actually I've just gone a bit hard at this point. But De Bruyne and Miazona are doing everything they can do right now, just staying in touch, just staying within slipstream range, just outside of that massive dirty air area, which is really going to push the tyres and make things a bit more difficult for them. And Miazona, if anything, is looking like he wants to maybe get by Kai de Bruyne.
Worst case scenario here for Drumont is if he comes into the pit lane at the same time as De Bruyne and Miazona do, he'll be relinquishing that race lead away, won't he? Because they'll be able to get ahead if they're taking on less fuel, or indeed if they don't take any fuel on board and they decide to do it later on. What are we down to? 24 litres? I'm sure they're going to have to, really. It depends on which way they go in terms of the tyres for their middle stint in this race. Speaking of the tyres, the rear's not looking too bad. They're certainly a bit more second-hand. Lopez and his rear tyres are in far worse condition comparatively. Are they going to last another lap though, or are we going to see the medium runners coming into the box at the end of this one? We'll find out in a couple of minutes or so's time once we've made our way down through the Dottinger. Lots of battles and strategies to play out. Either way, the top three at the moment, Drumont, De Bruyn and Miyazano, bit of an exhibition at the sharp end of this race. They have controlled this one very comfortably indeed so far.
Will Miyazano save more fuel, or will he just get the slingshot, try and get onto the back of Drumont, then take the race lead from there? Who knows? I mean, here we go. Looking back from Kylian Drumont, he's pulled a bit of a gap there. Miyazano, watch that little bar, the indicator on the right-hand side of the steering wheel. Will we see any lifting from Takuma Miyazano? Maybe he's just turned the fuel down. You can do that in these cars. You can turn the fuel mix down a little bit. It slows down the car, but saves a little bit of fuel. On the straight, when you've got the slipstream anyway, the car has to do less work. It's the right time to do it as they all break hard down into the end of the lap. Off the Nordschleife, we go back on to the GP circuit, and as predicted, all three cars come into the pit lane, but that will mean that De Bruyn or Miyazano will likely go up into the lead now. Because look at the fuel difference. Miyazano has saved 7 litres of fuel over Drumont. That's massive. That's over 2 seconds.
It's huge, absolutely huge. As we say, very, very difficult to gain that back when you get onto the circuit, unless, of course, you're following a car quickly on the Dottinger. So De Bruyn, Drumont, Miyazano, Inestrosa and Roach all in the box off of the medium compound of tyres. Sasaki and Karatza have decided to carry on, presumably in their middle stint, unless they've just not come around to the pit lane yet, because, of course, they were a fair old way back. So fuel going on board. Soft tyres for Drumont and De Bruyn. Miyazano, the outlier there, he's going onto the hard compound of tyre for this middle stint. So he's going to try and hopefully gain track position and then keep the rest of the drivers behind him on the Nordschleife circuit, and it's worked out quite nicely for Miyazano because he has now got track position, but of course he's got a slower compound of tyre.
I have to apologise for missing something a little bit earlier on. I wondered why Serrano had dropped behind Coque Lopez. It's because the opposite take is still there. He's done his fuel stop, Serrano, now. He's putting all the fuel he needs to get to the end of the race, and now has track position over Miyazano, Drumont and De Bruyn, but he does have to go onto that hard tyre at the end of the race. Miyazano opting to do that now, so really there's a bit of a gap again for Serrano to drive into, so that might have been an amazing strategic call from Jose Serrano.
Well, it could be. We'll wait and see what happens, though, with Miyazano, because he's got a fast-charging De Bruyn and Drumont behind. They're both on the soft compound of tyres. So what Miyazano's got to really hope for here is that he can keep those two behind on this GP circuit. Then when we get back onto the Nordschleife, the Green Hell, then he can hopefully keep them at bay for at least the rest of this lap, because presumably if he's on the hard tyre now, he's going to try and run it for one lap, then go on to the soft tyre for the very end of this race. But 3 laps on the softs, that's a tall order though, isn't it, for Takuma Miyazano. He's run the mediums, he's now on the hards. Let's see how this is going to play out. Either way, he's going to have a fast-charging Frenchman behind him here, because we're on board with Kylian Drumont. Down through in towards Hatzenbach we go. Again, you can just see how narrow and tight it is. You've got to thread the eye of a needle through these corners. But look how early Drumont can get on the power and how late he can get on the brakes. The Achilles heel for Miyazano here is going to, when we come up towards the flag puts, because look at that, around the outside to Kylian Drumont, and I don't think Miyazano's going to have anything left in his locker. Indeed, he doesn't, and Drumont accelerates his way through, effectively, into a net race lead.
Kylian De Bruyn follows him through as well, follows Drumont through. They do not want to lose time behind Takuma Miyazano, so now Drumont and De Bruyn need to really push and get away from Miyazano, because he isn't that hard compound of tyre, but while using the draft he can sort of stay with them, but that will of course fall away as they go through the corners. Through Schradenbroich, it's now breaking hard down to Arenberg, get the car into the camber on the inside, hook it in and then back full gas as we go down the hill back towards the compression and the Foxhole. You can see the difference just there already, one corner and the gap's up to 5/10 of a second.
Look at Serrano though, he's only what, 5 seconds up the road compared to Drumont, and Drumont on a quicker compound of tyre, taking fuel on board as well. So Serrano here on this middle stint, he's going to be struggling. He's going to be a bit of damage limitation, and of course he owes that hard tyre at the end of this race. So again, it could be a smart strategy, but it might not work out for the Spaniard. Let's have a look and see what happened then here. So Miyazano just ran it a bit deep, couldn't get the car rotated. Drumont said thanks very much, went straight through, and then De Bruyn said thanks very much as the slipstream came into effect with Kylian Drumont and managed to sweep on by.
I've never seen a move like that before at that corner, but I've also never seen...
Serrano, penalty.
Oh, that's huge. Colliding with another car. When was that? Was that Karatza?
We'll have to wait and see. I did wonder if the gap had shrunk down. It looks like it, well, it clearly has, hasn't it? So Serrano now with Drumont. Let's have a look at what happened then here. So Serrano, oh, it's with Robbie Heck, isn't it? It's further back and up the inside, and it was the merest of touches going through there, wasn't it?
It was very tight. I mean, our stewards do have access to different angles than we do, and they will have looked at that a few times before handing out that penalty. But that's going to be huge. Huge for Iseto there. He's really going to have to push to make that time back. A second might not seem like much on a circuit this big, but these guys, that's how tight the competition is. 1 second can make all the difference. Now, interestingly, do you know who the fastest man on track right now is? Well, not this guy.
Yeah,
but it's Valerio Gallo on that medium compounder tyre, currently in P7, and he is someone who still has the soft tyre yet to run, and he is gaining on Miezono in front.
Well, you've got Italy's fastest man out on track, and you've got Spain's maddest man, I'm sure, in third place following that penalty as well. So a difficult middle stint then here for Jose Serrano. As you say, it was just the lightest of grazes. Meanwhile, Adriano Carrazza up into second. He's all over the back of Takuma Sasaki. Is he going to be able to find his way through on the Japanese driver as we come through this series of corners? Well, if you give Carrazza an inch, he'll take a mile, and I wonder whether he's going to think about it before too long. He's not close enough to mount a challenge at the moment. Both of these drivers on the medium compound of tyre, both will be pitting at the end of this lap because they're going to be critical on fuel. 8 litres left for Sasaki, 8 litres left for Adriano Carrazza, and they'll be coming out of this one on to their next compound of tyre because they've done a first stint rather, on the medium compound of tyre. So presumably they're going to go to the hard tyre for 1 lap only and then try and run the softs to the end of the race. So what they've tried to do is get the overcuts effectively on them. But what's the gap now down to? 15.8 seconds to Jose Serrano. That's a bit of a bold strategy, that one, isn't it?
Yeah, sorry, I was just chuckling to myself watching the gyro cam from it. It looks so fast through there, man. I mean, I've done a few silly laps around the Nürburgring in silly cars, and I just think to myself that, like, I cannot do that. Oh, Suzuki there running it very wide on the exit of onto the straight, onto the dot under her there. And now Carrazza will have that draft down the straight. Usually it's easy to pass it, but these guys are both on very little fuel indeed. So they're going to have to take fuel here. How much they take, of course, might not agree with each other. We might see Suzuki take a lot. We might see Carrazza take a lot. But we'll see as they come into pit lane underneath the Bilstein Bridge as we go now down towards the heavy braking zone. Suzuki looking up at the screen there because they can get a bit of info from the screen. They can see the same big screen you guys can out in the audience and at home. So sometimes you catch the players glancing at that to get a little bit of an idea of what's going on around them.
You do hear that in F1 as well. Drivers, when they've got a commanding advantage, will just have a look up at the big screen to see what's happening. Sasaki and Carrazza then, as predicted, into the pit lane. They cut that very, very fine. 1 litre of fuel left for Sasaki in his Red Bull X 2019. So Serrano is going to take over at the front, but the deficit between himself and Drumont now down to 2.1 seconds, and Drumont is going to be coming very close to the back of him very, very soon. And we'll see how long it takes the Frenchman to mount a challenge for the race lead. So start of lap 5 we are on. 3 to go here in the grand final in the Nations Cup. Serrano on the slower compound of medium tyre, but also crucially owes even the slower compound of tyre to that the hards at the end of this race.
New fastest lap of the race set by Valerio Gallo, a 6:23.4. The Italian on a charge right now on that medium compound of tyre. He's just found, I think, a good rhythm around here, and importantly, actually starting to pull up to the back of Takuma Miezono. So if the tyre graphic is be believed, Gallo might be able to catch Miezono by the end of this lap.
And the best news for Gallo is that he owes the soft tyre at the end of this race, so he'll be quicker than those around him as well, because every other driver in front of him will not be on the soft tyre at the end of this race. We'll have Serrano on the hard tyre, Drumont will be on the hard tyre as well as De Bruyne. Miezono will be on the soft tyre as well. So what he needs to do really is try and get onto the back of Miezono and get past him while he's on a quicker compound.
Another penalty for Serrano. That's got to be track limits. We've just gone through one of the fastest chicanes in the circuit. Really easy to pick up a penalty there. And Serrano throwing away any advantage he has. Just not quite comfy maybe on that medium stint on that medium compound of tyre, but another penalty for Serrano, and that's an automatic one. Stewart's got nothing to do with that one as we ride on board with Kylian Drumont. The sun starting to get a little bit lower in the sky now as we just fly through this first sector of the Nordschleife, and that'll be a real encouragement to Drumont because he can now see the car he is chasing. It won't be long before he's got a draft and he'll be right on the back of our current leader, Jose. 1 second penalty too. And here are our live point standings, but that will change very soon.
Yeah, certainly will. So Serrano could be costing himself a chance at being crowned the 2024 Nations Cup champion here, because as you can see, very fine margins, double points on offer for this grand final as well. So if Drumont is able to leapfrog the Spaniard, it will be Drumont who is crowned as the champion, but De Bruyne, Miyazono, all relatively close behind as well. Let's have a look at what happened here to Serrano then. So as Jimmy said, coming in towards the chicane, he just clambered the curb a bit too much going into the first part of it, and he knew straight away, didn't he? Bit his lip there, shook his head, and that was it, unfortunately. Big shame there for Jose Serrano, and you can see now the Jaws music is being cued in the record player, because Drumont and De Bruyne are very close behind indeed.
Now, interestingly, Kai De Bruyne has done an amazing job saving fuel, whereas Kylian Drumont has 19 litres left in the tank. Kai De Bruyne has 26. That is nearly 3 seconds in the stop, and that's going to be huge for the Dutch driver when we come round to our last round of pit stops. But we've still got to get there first. This circuit bites, especially when you don't expect it. 1 lapse of concentration and you find yourself in the barrier.
So if you're Kylian Drumont here, do you try and find your way through on Serrano as soon as possible? Or do you just play the long game, wait for him to serve that penalty?
You've got to send it. You've got to get through as quick as possible here, because he's going to be slower through that last sector. I'd say this is a good chance. Up the hill towards the carousel here. We've gone through Bergwerk, and then we have a nice long section. Drumont should gain a little bit into Bergwerk through the right-hander. He does, and now it's full throttle. He'll use the draft of the car in front. Maybe not quite close enough though, but he needs to get by. He can't afford to wait, because there are cars who maybe aren't directly behind him right now, but are also threats when it comes to the last round of pit stops.
The other thing to consider here is that Drumont and De Bruyne are on that soft tyre. We saw there was a big drop-off in performance on that second lap, and they are now on lap 2. So there is a possibility that the tyres could be coming a little bit more towards the end of their life compared to the medium tyres, relative to Jose Serrano in front, of course.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I just heard Drumont there turn the fuel down as he couldn't get any closer to Serrano. Now right on the back of the Spanish driver. As we go into the carousel for the 5th time, he'll launch the car to the bottom here and just ride it through. Incredibly bumpy through here. Very easy to just spin a tyre if you get on the throttle too early on the exit. And now we go back up again to the highest point of the circuit. But actually Serrano, impressive enough through there, still keeping that gap of 7/10.
Certainly is. Threading the eye of a needle through there. That's beautiful from Kylian Drumont. Fantastic piece of driving from the Frenchman, and likewise Serrano and De Bruyne. I have to say, De Bruyne doing such a good job to keep within the wheel tracks consistently. Half a second he sits now behind Drumont, and he's been there for a fair amount of time. And De Bruyne actually the fastest man over the entire race in the first and second sectors over the course of this one. Up in towards YouTube corner we go. Serrano there, he's going to be a bit of a sitting duck as we head in towards the Dottinger Her, the top 3. Well, you could throw a blanket over them, couldn't you, at this point? But look at that, 8 litres more fuel for Kai De Bruyne. That is going to pay dividends when we come through into the pit lane. Serrano surely is going to be into the box at the end of this one. He's got no choice, he's got no fuel left in that X2019. Drumont and De Bruyne as well, they've got to come in, because I would have thought that those soft tyres are not going to be able to go 3 laps for a 1-lap dash on the hard tyre at the end of this one.
And let me tell you, that penalty zone is going to come up soon for Jose Serrano, and it hurts. It's on the main straight, this one here, so that'll cost him a ton of time. You can see as we go now up through the last real corner before we get onto the back straight. And then you can just let the engine run free as you come now back towards the DP circuit. There's the penalty line in front, you can see it. Serrano crosses it now, slows down massively. Oh man, look at that.
Closing speed is incredible, isn't it?
But Serrano, luckily, will have the draft. He should pick the car back up again nicely. He has fallen back a little bit, but that's not going to hurt him as much as we originally thought.
But the problem is he's lost track position. They're all going to have to take a bit of fuel on board for this final stop. And again, the big outlier here is going to be Kai De Bruyne. He's got 12 litres left. Drumont in front has got 4 litres. Serrano just 2 litres. So again, very, very fine margins. Here are the live point standings. Now Drumont has got ahead of Serrano. He now would be crowned as the Nations Cup champion, but there's still 2 laps left and remaining. 1 litre of fuel left for Serrano. Cut that very, very fine indeed. De Bruyne, meanwhile, he will take over in the lead of the race with track position here, presumably as well. The upshot is, though, that Gallo is going to be the fast charger at the end of this race. He sits in 5th position currently, but he's got the soft tyre to run. He's got a fair amount of fuel to take on board, though, as well. What about Angel Stroza behind? He's a fair way out of contention compared to Gallo, so no need really to worry about him. It's the top 5 we've got to keep an eye on here, and it's Gallo to see what progress he's now going to be able to make in the final stint of this race as he goes on to the soft tyre. Just to remind you, coming into this one, he is still very much in contention for the title. He had 27 points. He was tied on 2nd place with Kylian Drumont, and this final stint is going to define absolutely everything in the Nations Cup.
Wow, it comes down to this. Kylian De Bruyne out front, 3.4 seconds is the gap owing to his fuel saving throughout the race. Great strategy there from the Dutch driver. That's the gap on circuit. That is the gap to the end now. Behind him, Jose Serrano still within touching distance. Takuma Miyazono out of the pits now, and look, on that soft compounder tyre, if there's something you don't want to see in the mirrors, it is Takuma Miyazono on the soft tyre. This guy is a rocket and now has the fastest car possible until the end of the race, but as does behind him Valerio Gallo, incredibly fast Italian driver. Alternative strategy from the rest, but now also within touching distance. Is going to be an absolute dogfight to the end here, and I cannot wait as Serrano already latches onto the back of Kylian Drumont.
Big outlier in this one, of course, is Takuma Sasaki. He is out of sequence compared to everybody else. Although he's in the race lead, it's not the race lead effectively. It's the net race lead is being decided between De Bruyne and Drumont and Serrano at the moment. But keep an eye out for Miyazono and for Gallo as well, because they're both actually now on the soft compound of tyre at the end of this one. If the checker flag fell now, of course, I know it's a bit difficult with Sasaki being in the race lead. Gallo would finish a joint 4th place in the championship standings, which is not where he wants to be. Miyazono would be 3rd in the championship standings as well. So we'll wait and see how this one is going to play out and see what the gap is going to look like between Sasaki and De Bruyne as well. Up to 10.5 seconds between them. Sasaki, as we know, on that soft compound of tyre, so he's trying to get the overcut, effectively go a lap longer now on that soft tyre compared to everybody else. In fact, he was a lap longer on his first stint, I beg your pardon, so he was a lap longer on the medium tyre at the start of this one, which is why he is now out of sequence relative to those around him. So yeah, be interested to see what happens once this final pit stop has taken place, and once we get on to the final lap, then we will know proper what the order is going to look like for the victory.
Guys, you are watching right now a master at work. This is Takuma Miyazono on the soft compounder tyre, and now all he has to do is qualifying laps. Push hard now to the end of the race. Serrano ahead of us on the relative, 6.9 seconds. Incredibly nice is the gap between him and Serrano. If anyone can close that down, it is this man, flying down now towards the compression in every corner, every braking zone. He's going to be taking time out of the Spanish driver owing to that soft tyre. But as you said, Tom, the tyre does fall away on the second lap. So do you push hard now? Do you use it up to that lap time, or do you try and maybe conserve a little bit and have a quicker average over the 2 laps? That's up for Miyazono to work out.
Everything that you seem to throw at Takuma Miyazono, he adapts, doesn't he? He's like a chameleon. He just seems to change his colours depending on the circumstances that are thrown at him. And I saw him earlier in the license test qualifying session that we had, and they were driving old Ferraris and then changing over to a Subaru with studded tyres on in the snow, and he was just able to throw the car into the corners and extract the maximum performance, and that is exactly what he's doing here in this final stint of the race. The gap coming down 2.3 seconds. He's faster in this sector alone.
Look at this precision through here. It is insane. As you say, Tom, 2.5 seconds gained on this lap. The gap now down to 4.9 seconds as we go through Adenau, just scything our way through here. The amount of skill and precision it takes to drive these cars around the circuit at this speed is almost beyond comprehension, but that's why these guys are the best drivers in the world at Gran Turismo. Through Bergwerk now, heavy on that throttle, and now a chance to breathe. And I think I just caught a glimpse of Serrano in front there, and it's a completely different ball game when you see that car you're chasing. You just, something changes in your brain. You turn into the hunter, and you just find that extra bit of speed, and Miyazono is very close to seeing the Spaniard in front now.
So the carrot being dangled then for Takuma Miyazono. Let's not forget he won the Nations Cup Championship back in 2020 when he went on to do the Triple Crown. He won the Toyota GR-GT Cup that year and also was part of Subaru's Manufacturer Cup winning lineup as well.
So Miyazono there looks really damn fast, right? Do you know who was faster behind him? Valerio Gallo.
Yeah.
He's gained now to 1.7 seconds. That gap was 2.5 seconds at the start of a lap. The Italian driver putting in an even better performance right now than Takuma Miyazono. This is going to be a grandstand finish of this race with only a lap and a half to go. Who's it going to be? These guys do have the tyre advantage, but they've got to get past Kai de Bruin, Kylian Drumont and Jose Serrano if they want a chance at taking this Nations Cup final championship.
So 1.5 laps then to go here at the Nordschleife. Through into the right-hander here for Valerio Gallo. I suppose the difficult thing for him is he's going to come into dirty air before too long as well. That's the problem when you're following cars through these fast sweeping corners. 1.7 seconds between Miyazono and Gallo it stands at the moment, but once he of course gets closer to the Japanese driver, it will start to hinder him a little bit more.
I think so. Fuel-wise, they're all good to the end, so it's a straight push now. There is Serrano. This will help Serrano. Having a look. There's Miyazono. He's right there. Look how close they are now. Miyazono can smell blood in the water. He can see Serrano from the sparks being kicked up from the Red Bull X 2019 in front, and he might even get into the point where he'll get a toe down the back straight. Watch him through his right hand to completely fight the commitment. Unreal here from Miyazono. Darting the car to the right to get a better entry, almost onto the gravel there. Now through the Kleiner carousel, back up the hill, using that toe. 1.2 seconds now is the gap. He'll have a toe going onto the straight. This is huge right now, with just over 1 lap to go. Miyazono and Gallo on a charge.
So current point standings, Jose Serrano will be crowned as the champion by finishing in 4th place, but of course Sasaki will be coming into the pits in a few moments time from the race lead. He'll be changing over onto the hard compound of tyre at the end of this one, and that will mean it will be a final lap showdown in the fight for victory here in the Nations Cup. Sasaki in the box then as he comes in. Where will he emerge? Actually after the pit stops as well. That's going to be an important point.
I don't know.
No, I don't know, but I wonder if he's going to be a bit of an upset for some of the drivers quite possibly here as well.
I feel like he'll be behind Gallo. I feel that's where it's going to come out, but we'll see. Mizuzaki has had a good in-lap on that soft tyre, but as we go, so Kai de Bruin then inherits the lead from Kylian Drumont, Jose Serrano 3rd, Miyazono 4th, and Gallo up into 5th. It's now a straight fight between these 5 drivers for the win here in the grand final. If the race finishes now, Serrano would win, but I have a feeling he's going to be passed very soon by this man. Takuma Miyazono extremely close to the back, and he has the tyre advantage on the soft compound of tyre. Serrano has driven well, but that hard compound, look at the difference here. He's just a sitting duck at this point.
Yeah, Miyazono's had a particularly good run in this weekend so far, and he's now all over the back of Jose Serrano. He's lunging his way to the inside of the Spaniard, down into the hairpin, and Miyazono goes up and through into 3rd place. He made that look so easy, and that then elevates him up into 3rd now in the championship standings. Next target, Kylian Drumont, and he's only 0.6 of a second away.
Yeah, I mean, this is it now. If you're in that driver's seat, you're just feeling egged on. You think, right, I've got one, let's get another one. And then the thing is, 3.5 seconds in front of this is Kai de Bruin. So will Takuma Miyazono have the pace to catch the Dutch driver? He's there because of his great fuel saving. Will Miyazono go for a move here into the chicane? He's looking at it. Oh, he does! In the chicane, does at the inside, slows them all up though, and Miyazono through, and now it's 4.5 seconds, and there's Gallo. Gallo there in the background too. Now he's got to get by as soon as possible. He cannot waste time with Serrano or Drumont if he wants to challenge this win, but look already, he's stuck there. That could be the deciding move from Takuma Miyazono.
Yeah, difficult times then for Valerio Gallo. You can see there if there's a tie at the point, it'll be the driver with the higher result in this grand final race who will be crowned as the champion. Now Miyazono is up and into 2nd. That's enough currently for him to be crowned as the world champion. But he'll be tied on points with Jose Serrano, so of course he needs to finish ahead of the Spaniard. Serrano currently in 4th place, and now here's Gallo trying to make his attempt at a pass over through flag puts on Serrano, but nothing doing for him at the moment. He's so much faster than the Spaniard because the Spaniard's on the hard compound of tyre, but he doesn't have the opportunity to use that extra pace that he's got underneath him. He's going to be forced to the outside line here. Gallo's going to be later on the brakes. Is he going to sweep his way through on the inside, then goes to the outside line? Very close quarters here for Valerio Gallo. Around the outside, and Serrano's not giving this one up easy at all. Side by side, they still continue to run, and eventually he has to set up for 2nd best. It's going to be game over for Gallo at this rate.
Serrano fighting for his life right now. It's so hard to keep a guy on the soft tyres behind you, but he's doing it well. And all this while, all what's going on, Miyazono is putting away. Kai de Bruin is still 4 seconds to the good of Takuma Miyazono. If he can just keep his pace up, he might be able to beat the Japanese driver to the line, but Gallo right now. This is the downside on a different strategy. He goes for the lunge, can't quite make a move. You can feel the impatience from the Italian driver, and I have the feeling that this isn't going to end well. Contact there with Serrano as dusk begins to settle here at the Nürburgring. Lights on as we now fly through the forest, illuminated by the headlights of his Red Bull X2019s. Gallo running out of time to make a move.
And this is the problem when you start lower back in the pack. It gives yourself so much more work to do. Gallo has really been compromised by his poor race 2, and now he is paying the price for it here in race 3. He picks up a warning for his troubles as well. One more of those, it'll be a penalty being issued by the stewards, and he's still stuck behind Jose Serrano. He can feel the hopes and dreams of a world title, a second Nations Cup championship slipping through his fingers at the moment. Meanwhile, Miyazano will be rubbing his fingers with glee in about half a lap's time if it finishes as it is.
I don't know if he can get there. Kai de Bruin's pace in this hard tyre is exceptional. He is being caught by Takuma Miyazano, but not quick enough. Not quick enough, I think, to have to fend off. Here comes Gallo once more, looking for another pace up towards the mud curve. He's side by side with Serrano. He can't make it happen. Serrano, a defensive masterclass from the Spanish driver. This guy knows exactly what he's doing. The sparks being kicked up in the dust by the Red Bull X2019. Now looking into the carousel, into the corner before the carousel. Still can't find a way by. It's a disaster for Valerio Gallo.
Look at Gallo, he's all over him like a cheap suit here, trying to find his way through, going in towards the carousel, but this is nothing he can do. You can't go 2x2 through that corner, not unless you fancy a taste of the barrier. And Drumont, meanwhile, a bit of a cork in the bottle here at the moment as well, just keeping his powder dry up the road in 3rd place. And this is so frustrating for Valerio Gallo. I'm sure it's going to be game over because we've got less than half a lap to go. And Miyazano, meanwhile, is closing up onto the back of De Bruyne. He's brought the gap now down to 2.4 seconds. I don't know if the victory in the race overall is going to be in question, but he will finish crucially ahead of Jose Serrano on the road, which will be enough, even though it's a tie, for him to be crowned as the Nations Cup World Champion of 2024. This is absolutely superb.
So Serrano is doing his best to try and stay on the back of Kylian Drumont, because if Serrano can get by Kylian Drumont, he will be the champion for 2024. But of course, he's got Valerio Gallo behind him. It's looking one eye forward, one eye back, and Gallo is doing everything he can to find a way by. But it's so hard to overtake around here, around the Nürburgring. But we're now coming on to the best pace to do that, on to the Dodger. It's going to be a slipstream battle between these 3 drivers, and basically, if Serrano can get by Drumont, he will be our champion for the year. Miyazano now has caught Kai de Bruin. He's right on the back of Kai de Bruin. If he can overtake de Bruin, he will be unquestionably the 2024 champion. This is so important for the championship.
One more straight to go then to define the 2024 title in the Nations Cup. Miyazano pulls out of the slipstream and sides his way past Takuma Miyazano. But what's happening in the background? What about Drumont and Serrano in the battle for 3rd place there as well? It's very close between them, but Miyazano, he's going to have enough in his pocket. This will give him a 4-point advantage as we come to the checkered flag if he's able to stay ahead of Kai de Bruin. The Dutchman would love to take victory though.
De Bruin's out of fuel, Tom. He's out of fuel.
Oh, disaster for Kai de Bruin. What does that mean though for Drumont and Serrano close behind? De Bruin so close to taking victory. It's going to be a big upset here indeed. He's parking his car. Serrano involved in strife. Drumont as well. Takuma Miyazano is the 2024 Nations Cup champion of the world here in Amsterdam. Absolutely superb. Drumont in 2nd. Serrano will come over the line in 3rd. The problems there for De Bruin cost Serrano really dear in those final couple of corners. It means that Drumont will take 2nd in the standings, and Serrano will finish down in 3rd overall now as well.
Oh my word. Oh my word. Takuma Miyazano, your champion, Nations Cup champion for 2024, with an amazing drive and all the drama at the end. Kai de Bruin did a fantastic job putting himself in contention, but just ran out of fuel. I saw it right at the end there. And in all that chaos at the end, we're going to have to wait for our final results, I think, just to make sure we've got the points completely correct. But that was insane at the end there.
Unbelievable job from this man here, Takuma Miyazano. He got the strategy absolutely spot on. He performed when he needed to, and he knew he needed to make those overtakes on that final lap as quickly as possible to not get held behind. That ultimately is what cost Valerio Gallo a shot at the championship here tonight.
I mean, also that, and think about just the chaos chaos on that last lap. But while we digest all of that, here are your highlights for the race. Of course, we saw this earlier on. Drumont and Kylian Drumont were the ones to look out for, but Serrano, I mean, it's kind of fair to say he put himself in a bit of a bad position in this race.
Yeah, not ideal at all there for him. Meanwhile, this was Serrano who was leading the race at this particular point. You can see, though, he picked up a couple of penalties, didn't he? We saw that, track limits on one occasion, and it cost him a lot of time, and including the race lead and indeed second place as well to Drumont and De Bruyne respectively. Then the pit stops all began to play out in the final stages of this one. We had to wait really until the final lap to figure out exactly what was going on in the point standings, because Sasaki went long in his first stint to try and leapfrog his way up the order, but it was a battle right down to the checkered flag. Miyazono managed to get his way past Jose Serrano first of all at the start of the final lap. His next target then would be Kylian Drumont, and then soon Kai De Bruyne. Up the inside through into the chicane. That was an aggressive, audacious move for Miyazono, but he knew that time was absolutely critical here, JB.
And that was the move that won in the race right there. He had to make that move. And here's what didn't happen when Gallo couldn't make the move. He got stuck. He got no way by for Valerio Gallo. And Miyazono just proving a masterclass there on strategy and on fuel and on racecraft. And it's a reason why he is the 2024 now Nations Cup champion. We are still waiting for official results, bear in mind. Waiting for that now as Gallo and Serrano, you see here, fighting all the way through on that last lap. Serrano, a masterclass in defensive driving. But here's the pivotal moment. Here is where Miyazono got by Kai De Bruyne, who ran out of fuel. Then in the background, chaos. We didn't see it all from our perspective, and we're still waiting to see if there's any fallout from that. But insane last corner there. But here's what it meant to Takuma Miyazono, straight up. And there's all his Japanese compatriots. Amazing for there. I think you guys at home enjoyed that. I think our live audience enjoyed that too. And there's Takuma Miyazono guy in his shirt having a great time. Now he is. Look at him.
Race is under investigation. Confirmation of it from the stewards. So that's for second and third place incident that we saw with Kai De Bruyne and Jose Serrano at the end of that one. So
second and third, but Miyazono is the champion.
Yeah, that's undisputedly. Miyazono has won the championship, and let's have another look at what happened on that final lap. So Kai De Bruyne runs out of fuel. Drumont and Serrano have a bit of a coming together. Drumont sides his way on the inside. There's a coming together there. Serrano has to back out of it all. Gallo gets caught up in strife. Then Serrano comes back through. Gallo ends up in the wall and nearly in the pit lane there. There was drama that we didn't see that, did we, in the final lap? So it's not over till it's over, and there could be, again, another twist in the tail in the title battle. Undisputedly, Miyazono's won it, but who finishes second and who finishes third? Is it Serrano or is it Drumont?
It's a tough one, though. If you're in a point where you're out of fuel and your car is not in a position where you can actually accelerate properly, do you then sit on the racing line? But to be fair to him, he had nowhere really to go to Kai De Bruyne. So it's what happens when a car is going slow in such a tight part of the circuit.
Well, absolutely huge drama then. Let's go down to Jules and catch up, though, with our 2024 Nations Cup champion, Takuma Miyazono.
Okay. Takuma, you've done a few races for Gran Turismo here and there. That looked particularly intense. Was that really, really intense? Because I certainly, for us guys, that was a lot.
グランツーリスモでこれまでいっぱい走ってきましたけど、その中でも結構すごい今のレースだったんじゃないですか。今の気持ちはどうですか。
4年前のシドニーよりも最後すごい緊張してました。はい。
Yeah, I was more tense than when I drove in Sydney 4 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was more tense for all of us, honestly. You performed really, really consistently all the way through that, and that's kind of your how you work. You're very, very consistent. You're very, very powerful. I mean, were you even aware how crazy what was going on behind you at the end of that race?
すごく安定した走りをできた、そういった宮園選手のいつものキャラクターがここでもうまた生きてきたと思うんですけど、もう自分の後ろでどういったことが起きてたとかっていうのは把握してました。
いや最初というか、1レース目と2レース目が、3位で順調にこれてたので、最後のレースは車も得意ですし、いい走りができると思ってました。で、ミディアムタイヤ選んで次ハード選んだんですけど、ちょっとその時他の、キリアンとカイが何タイヤ選んでるかは全然分かってなくて、でもソフトを選んだのを見た瞬間にちょっとこれは今日チャンスがあるかなと思って、そこからもう全力でプッシュしました。
Yeah, so having been in third in the first race and the second race, I knew that the last race, it was one of my favorite cars. I knew I was good on it, so I was pretty confident. But when I went for the mediums and the hards, I wasn't really sure what the other guys were doing. But when I saw that Kylian and Kai had already went to softs, I knew that I had a chance. So yeah.
Well, it paid off. I mean, I think some of it was down to your driving and your strategy, but I think most of it is down to this guy who printed a special T-shirt that says Takuma Miyazono, which was his good luck charm for the weekend. Let's give it up for Takuma Miyazono. Did he do so good? Back to you, Tom and Jimmy.
So Takuma Miyazono is the 2024 Nations Cup champion. The results are in. No change at all. The stewards deemed that last lap incident between Drumont Serrano et al. As a racing incident, and the upshot is that it's Takuma Miyazono who takes victory from Kylian Drumont in second. Kai de Bruin comes across the line in third place, but that doesn't reflect the results for the points rankings. This is what it means. Takuma Miyazono wins his second Nations Cup title. Drumont finishes in second place overall, and then Serrano in third position. Well, what a dramatic conclusion, JB.
Oh man, I mean, that was crazy. But of course, we'd love to hear your thoughts too. Vote for your Michelin driver of the day on YouTube. Miyazono, Drumont or Serrano, all three put in amazing performances today. Tough one, if you ask me. But yeah, I'm still sort of decompressing from that time. That was a mad finish.
Yeah, it certainly was. It really did have everything, that race, didn't it? It's always the way with these longer form strategy races. They start off generally a little bit slower, and you have to sort of wait to find out which strategy is going to work effectively, who saved the most fuel, who's going on to what tyre at any given time. Ultimately, Takuma Miyazono was in the right place at the right time, and as you say, he won that race on the final lap.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic really that Kai de Bruin, who did such a good job of saving fuel right at the start of the race, ran out of fuel right at the end. I mean, I wondered why he had caught him so quickly, but yeah, it's no choice. Either he can go full gas down the straight and just not make the line, or just really try and bring it home. But that whole situation just caused mayhem at the last corner.
Well, I wonder if he looks at his fuel gauge. You know, like you do in your car, and you see it go into the, into the orange, and you think, oh, don't worry about it. It'll go on for a little bit longer.
I know my car.
Yeah, I know, exactly. I know my car. And then before you know it, you're playing fuel like bingo. Yeah. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite have the same effect in these X2019s, does it?
Brackets, he did not know his car. but still a really good result from Kai de Bruin. I mean, to be at the sharp end in these events, I mean, we say it all the time, these are the best GT drivers in the world, and they're here to put on the display for us. And Kai de Bruin, I think, firmly belongs now in that category.
Yeah, absolutely right. We are ready to get the podium ceremony underway for one final time in 2024. Time for the podium ceremony here for the Gran Turismo World Series World Finals in Amsterdam, the Nations Cup. In third place, please give it your all for Spain's Jose Serrano. Please give your all for second place in the Nations Cup 2024 for France's Kylian Drumont. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your 2024 Nations Cup World Champion, it's Takuma Miyazono!
Always go to the best.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding if you're able for the national anthem of Japan. The national anthem of Japan plays out for Takuma Miyazono, the 2024 Nations Cup World Champion here for the GT World Series in Amsterdam. And now it's time for the awards to be presented to our top 3 finishers. First of all, the third place medal, awarded by Kaushik Subaranian, the senior research scientist for Sony AI. He makes his way onto the stage to a round of applause here in Amsterdam. The third place medal, of course, will be awarded to the young Spaniard Jose Serrano. Third place for Jose Serrano here at the Gran Turismo World Finals in Amsterdam. A valiant effort. Second place award presented by Jeffrey Marseille, the gaming manager for Michelin, as he makes his way down onto the stage, congratulating the top 3 competitors. And the medal, of course, being awarded to France's Kylian Drumont. And the first place medal, Belma Nadarevich, the Chief Marketing Officer of Fanatec, making her way on to the stage for the first of 2 awards to be presented to Jose Serrano. To Takuma Miyazono, I do apologise, I beg your pardon. Takuma Miyazono, the 2024 Nations Cup World Champion, collects his first place medal. And now time for the first place trophy, awarded by the Gran Turismo Series producer Kazunori Yamauchi, to a rapturous applause here in Amsterdam. And for one final time in 2024, give it your all for the 2024 Nations Cup World Champion, Takuma Miyazono! The 2024 Nations Cup World Champion, a 2-time champion now in the Gran Turismo World Series. He won it back in 2020, and 4 years later, he reclaims his crown. So much excitement that once again, I got the names all muddled up, David.
It's all right, Tom.
It's been a long weekend.
It's been a long weekend, but I mean, Takuma Miyazono, we always say he's always a threat, and when things go his way, he is unstoppable, and I think a deserving winner of our Nations Cup.
Yeah, amazing job from Takuma Miyazono, and you've got to feel for the likes of Jose Serrano, for Kylian Drumont, 3rd and 2nd for those drivers respectively. Valiant for them to stand on the podium. It's got to really, really sting for a little bit, but you know, they did the best they could in the circumstances, the cards they were dealt, and you know, that's the result, isn't it?
Because Serrano usually gives us a bit of a smile when he comes out. That time, no. I think he was pretty frustrated with how that race ended, but Drumont there, incredibly happy with his 2nd place, so he must be thinking what could have been, because he was the leader, of course, coming into this grand final. But I think a well-deserving podium. Valerio Gallo narrowly missing out yet again for Valerio.
I know, very unlucky for Valerio Gallo. Anyway, the Gran Turismo World Series may now be coming to an end in 2024. That is our season done and dusted, but it's not the end of racing with Gran Turismo. The Race of Champions is along the way later on this month. Have a look at this to see what it's all about.
Don't forget the Race the Champions on January the 1st in 2025. Hey, how's it going? Sorry, by the end of it, we just sort of lose the plot a bit. What an amazing race! A little bit spicy towards the end there, a little bit of subterfuge.
That was brilliant, wasn't it? I mean, that race had it all, didn't it? And Takuma Miyazono, you can't fault the man, can you? He just seems to pull it out of the bag whenever it matters. It was an amazing job.
That was really, really good. What do you think?
I mean, whenever you see Miyazono like on the soft tyre with just space ahead of him, yeah, you know, that's it. It's done. It's finished. But
that's it.
That end, oh my God. I mean, it reminds me of so many Nations Cup finals in the past where it just all comes to chaos in the last sector. But I'm glad that it was just as it finished at the beginning.
I like a bit of chaos at the end. I honestly found it's the most intense race ever. My eyes went a bit funny, so it was great.
Right.
Thank you so much for joining us this weekend. It's been an amazing season for Gran Turismo World Series. We've had a great time. We will see you in 2025.
Happy Christmas.
First.
PlayStation
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening. Welcome back to Amsterdam for the Gran Turismo World Series World Finals. For the last time in 2024, we have our top 3 finishers in the Nations Cup. In third place, Jose Serrano from Spain. In second place, Kylian Drumont from France. And our 2024 Nations Cup World Champion, Takuma Miyazono. Well, Takuma, let's come to yourself first of all. An amazing job for you. You are now a 2-time Nations Cup World Champion. Just tell us how it feels to have been awarded that, really. It's an amazing performance from yourself.
これで2回のネーションズカップワールドチャンピオンに輝いたわけですけど、今の感想は。
いややっとですね。もう、ちょっと2年前もすごい最後惜しい場面まで行ってて、ちょっといろいろ運も良くなくて勝てなかったんですけど、やっと4年ぶりに、しかも4年前はオンラインでの、大会だったので、こうやって、大勢のお客さんがいる前で優勝できて、もう本当に嬉しいです。
Yeah, so it's really like finally for me. 2 years ago I came so close, but series of bad luck didn't allow me to win then. It's been 4 years since the last one, but the last one was an online competition only. So to be able to come back here and win in front of a big crowd like this, it was really great.
Amazing job from yourself, Takuma. What will you use going forward, in momentum-wise? Is this something that you'd like to become a 3-time world champion of the Nations Cup?
勢い的にはこのまま3回目のワールドチャンピオンを目指したいという感じですかね。
いや、もうちょっと僕のいろいろなスケジュールというか、もうちょっと来年は実写の方のレースに力を入れようと思っているので、リタイアするわけではないんですけど、もう来年は出れないつもりで頑張ってきたので、スケジュール合えばもちろん続けはしたいんですけど、おそらく厳しいと思うので、一旦こういう形で優勝ということで、終わったわけではないんですけど、一旦一つ区切りがつけられたのかなというふうには自分の中では思っています。はい。
Yeah, so for next year, because of my schedule, I'm not quite sure if I'm going to be able to really compete, because I'm going to have to really, or I want to really focus on real world racing. It's not like I'm going to retire. If the schedule allows, I would like to stay involved. But I think this win sort of marks like an era for me, because I really do want to try to do well in the real world of racing.
Well, Takuma, many congratulations and all the very best of luck with your endeavours for 2025. Let's move over to second place in the Nations Cup for 2024, Kylian Drumont. Kylian, it's always going to be a bit of a sweet pill to swallow, having finished second, and it was a dramatic end to that race. But how do you sum up your season coming so close to the title?
Yeah, the competition started really bad for me because I started P8 for the first race. So yeah, this was really difficult to get a lot of positions. I get P5, and yeah, for the second race I was second. So start second for the third race for the grand finals, and yeah, I did really well. But I was a bit complicated because I was the top of front of the drivers, and a lot of drivers follow me for the ship stream, so he can save fuel a lot than me. So yeah, it was difficult, but a lot of luck of the end of the race, dramatic end of the race, because Kaj didn't have fuel for finish the race, and yeah, it was the middle of the track, and I go nowhere, and yeah, the big incident with me, Urse to the wall, and yeah, and Takuma goes through.
Yeah, it was obviously a dramatic end, to the race for yourself. Are you happy with your performance though overall throughout 2024?
Yeah, for me it was a really good result, because at Montreal it was bastard 0 points for me, and yeah, I keep that space for the same Praga, because I did P2, P1 from Tokyo, like now P2, so I'm really happy, and so, yeah, so this is good for me.
Wonderful. Well, Kylian, many congratulations, and we hopefully look forward to seeing you back in 2025.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Kylian Drumont, second place in the Nations Cup. And finally over to Jose Serrano. Jose, third place for you in the standings. I mean, we can see the disappointment in your body language, but just talk us through how you're feeling and how you're reflecting on your 2024 campaign.
Bueno, José, podemos ver en tu cara, ¿no?, un poco la decepción, ¿no?, de no haber conseguido el título, pero bueno, cuéntanos un poco tus impresiones de toda esta temporada.
Bueno, la temporada en general estoy bastante contento con mi rendimiento. Sí es verdad que en la carrera final, bueno, no creo que haga falta que diga lo que pienso, porque yo creo que ya se sabe y todo el mundo creo que piensa igual que yo. Así que nada, contra todo y contra todo, soy tercero del mundo, con la cabeza muy alta, así que y el año que viene pues a intentar el campeonato del mundo de nuevo.
Yeah, with my season 2024, I'm pretty happy with what I've done. But yeah, disappointed with what happened in the last race. I think everyone thinks and knows what I think about what happened. So yeah, heads up and on to 2025 next year.
Well, Jose, many congratulations for finishing inside the top three. It's a very difficult competition, this, and you can hold your head high after an amazing season. And we can now announce the Michelin driver of the day, and it is awarded to none other than our 2024 champion, Takuma Miyazono. Takuma, please be outstanding as Marie from Michelin will be presenting your award. Wonderful. Well, Takuma, many congratulations for that. We're going to need to get you a new suitcase to put all of your trophies in for the flight home. Right, let's move on to some questions from the chat. The first one comes in from NASCO, and this is for all three drivers, so I will ask it to Takuma for translation first of all. Could you tell us your first impression when you heard about the race regulations of the Grand Final?
じゃあ今回グランドファイナルのレースのレギュレーションと条件を聞いたときにまずは第一印象は何でしたか？
燃料とタイヤの倍率が、今当日に発表されるんですけど、ちょっとタイヤは想定通りだったんですけど、もう燃料が結構もったいないようなレギュレーションだったので、いろいろ頭の中で考えながら、できる限り前に車を置いた状態で、燃料をセーブして、で一番最後のスティントで給油量を減らして前に出られるような、作戦を取った方がいいのかなと思って、そういう戦略を取りました。
Yeah, so when the fuel and tire strategies are announced on the day of the race, or the fuel and tire wear is announced on the day of the race, so we don't know what's going to happen until it's until the driver's briefing. But when the tire wear was actually as expected, but the fuel wear was much more than I was initially thinking of, and I knew that the fuel wouldn't last until the end of the race unless you refueled. So I was thinking in my head what I need to do for that, and my strategy was that I wanted to stay behind someone to save as much fuel as I can till the latter part of the race. Save that fuel, make sure I have a short pit stop, and then get out and try to get in front of the car. So that was my strategy going through.
Takuma, thank you very much. Kylian, what were your thoughts and impressions when you found out about the conditions for the grand final?
Yeah, the conditions was a bit difficult because you have some saving fuel to do it because it was only 3 laps for the fuel tank, so you need to save fuel for when you are pitting. You can gain a lot of time on the other drivers. For the tire it was okay. Maybe on soft, the tires was a bit destroyed after the end of the second lap. So yeah, but for me it was a bit complicated because I was in front of gyro, so But yeah, if I was like Piran Kac, maybe my fuel management can be better, of course. But yeah, this is the most important for this race to have good in tire management.
Kylian, thank you very much. And finally, over to you, Jose. What were your thoughts and impressions when you found out about the conditions for the grand final?
The conditions?
Yeah, as in the car and circuit combination.
Okay. Bueno, José, ¿cuál es tu feedback o tus impresiones cuando supiste del formato de la carrera final con el coche y con el circuito?
Bueno, al principio pensaba que iba a ser un poco locura porque ese coche ahí en ese circuito pues no es muy habitual, pero al final se han visto buenas luchas, ha sido una buena carrera, así que bueno, la impresión es muy buena la verdad.
Well, at the beginning, when I heard about it, about the format of the race, I thought it was going to be a crazy race, and unusual to see the Red Bull X 2019 in Nürburgring in this format. So yeah, but in the end we could see good racing, good battles, and yeah, that's all.
Wonderful. Jose, thank you very much indeed. A question coming through from our Japanese audience to Miyazono. Takuma, what was your impression of the new F3500A that you drove today?
日本からの質問なんですけど、今回初めて登場した新しいF3500A については走ってみてどう思いましたか？
いや難しかったですね。
Yeah, it was a difficult car to drive.
はい、なかなかブレーキも思ってるより止まらなかったり、ダウンコースも結構効いてるんですけど、微妙にトラクションが抜けたりして、なんか僕の中ではレース中最初から最後まですごい苦戦してたんですけど、そんな中でもなんとか、3位という順位をキープできて終われたので、すごいハッピーですし、車自体はすごい速度も出ますし、もう音もすごい甲高い音で乗ってて楽しいですし、早く製品版に収録されてもっと気楽な状況で運転できたらなというふうに思います。
Yeah, so yeah, it was difficult because the brakes didn't quite work as much as I was hoping it would. It has a lot of downforce, but there are moments where you lose that traction. So from beginning to end, it was I had to really be careful and stay on it. And I'm just glad I was able to keep third place. But it's a fast car. The sound is fantastic. So it's very fun to drive. I'm just hoping to be able to see it in the product version soon, so that I can actually enjoy the car in a relaxed mood.
Wonderful. Takuma, thank you very much. Another question from our Japanese audience for yourself as well. And they asked, did you have a specific idea of where you wanted to overtake your opponents on the final lap?
また日本からの質問なんですけど、ファイナルラップでどこで仕掛けようか、どこでオーバーテイクしようかっていうのはもう最初から頭の中にあったんでしょうか？
いや、もう何も考えてなかったですね。もう、こういう時に考えてオーバーテイクをしだすと今までうまくいったことがなかったので、今回ももう考えてそういうのをやるんじゃなくて、もう最終ラップはもう自分がここって、思ったところでもう後先考えずにもう早く、オーバーテイクをしようというふうに、走ってました。はい、でそれが結果的に、いい方向につながったのかなと思います。
Yeah, so I really wasn't thinking of anything in my mind because whenever I think about it too much of when to overtake and things like that, it's never worked before. So I try not to think about it, and just to just really just feel out where I should go, or where that I should go and get ahead of the others. And actually, it worked. So I think that went well.
Wonderful. Takuma, thank you very much. A question coming in for Kylian Drumont as well. Kylian, the question asks, how does it feel to drive the Nordschleife in the X 2019? Is it a combination that you would like to take on in real life?
Yeah, to be honest, when I see the combo for the World Finals and I saw the World Finals, the Grand Finals, sorry, with the Red Bull X and Nordschleife, I was pretty happy because I like it. The combo is really good, and with this car with a lot of them from the Nordschleife, it's just crazy to driving, and 2 races with these guys is some just the tops for me, so I really like it. And yeah, this is for me with the setups. We have a specific setup for these tracks, and the setup was good as well. So really nice to drive, really nice to racing on there. So and I like Nordschleife with every car, but this one I really like it.
Kylian, thank you very much indeed. Another question coming through from our English stream, and it goes to Jose Serrano. Jose, it says, you had a strong weekend, but ultimately the result wasn't what you wanted in the grand final. Is there anything that you would do in particular to change your strategy for the race if you were to run it again?
Bueno, José, hemos visto que has tenido un rendimiento muy fuerte, pero hay algo que en la gran final en cuanto a estrategia, ¿qué hubieses cambiado de lo que has hecho?
Pues sinceramente no hubiese cambiado nada porque estaba saliendo todo como lo tenía planeado, pero cosas que pasan, así que bueno, con eso estoy tranquilo, estoy contento, estoy con la conciencia tranquila, así que bueno, bien.
Sí, well, in terms of strategy, I will not have changed anything. Everything was running as planned for me until what happened, I guess, I believe in the last corner. Nothing else. I was really happy with what was going on in terms of my strategy, but that's all.
Jose, thank you very much. One final question for Takuma Miyazono then. Takuma, a question coming through that asked, was fuel management the key for victory in this last race?
この最後のレースというのはやっぱり燃料のマネジメントが一番鍵になったと思いますか？
まあそうですね、燃料のセーブと、あとやっぱりそれなりに自分で速いペースを作れないと勝てないっていうところもあったので、その点でいうと、序盤は燃料をセーブして走れましたし、後半は、単独の状態だったんですけど、ある程度のペースを維持しながら最後まで走れたので、その2つが、いい具合に、噛み合って優勝できたのかなというふうに思います。
So I think saving fuel was very important, but at the same time it was important to keep a fast pace. So being able to, having been able to save fuel properly in the first half of the race, and then in the latter half, when I was driving alone, to having been able to keep that pace, I think those things together is what really got me the victory.
Wonderful. Takuma, thank you very much indeed. That does bring an end to the press conference and indeed the 2024 Gran Turismo World Series. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause once again. Third place for Jose Serrano, second place for Kylian Drumont, and our 2024 Nations Cup World Champion, Takuma Miyazono. Thank you to everybody for joining us in 2024 for the Gran Turismo World Series. We'll see you again in 2025. Take care, thank you again, and we'll see you very, very soon.
Thank you.